Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Police Advisory and Accountability Committee meeting on Wednesday, March 18th, 2026. I will request the Assistant City Manager, Robinson Pinion, to please call the roll.
Member Alm.
Present.
Member Kamina.
Present.
Member Nguyen.
Present.
Member Ruedas is presently not here. Member Tokolahi.
Present.
Chair Davidi.
Present.
Vice Chair Ruiz.
Present.
Alternate Member Locks.
Here.
Alternate Member Valdez.
Present.
Okay, I'd like to invite Ms. Robinson Pinion to address the interpretation and the public comment for the meeting, please.
Thank you, Chair Davidi. Before I begin with the interpretation, I want to acknowledge that we're in the Public Safety Center for tonight's meeting, and specifically in the Emergency Operations Center for the City of San Rafael. The council chambers are currently undergoing audiovisual upgrades, and so they're presently not available to host a meeting. We did look at alternative city facilities in which to host the meeting. I recognize that this is a secure facility, and so people have to be led into this space. We did look at alternative locations. However, there weren't any locations that had the audiovisual capabilities as well as the seating capacity to be able to host a meeting. And so we're presently in the EOC for tonight, and we will resume in council chambers at a future meeting. So just wanted to call that out for those of you at home that see that this is a different space than what we normally meet in. I would like to announce that this meeting will include Spanish language simultaneous and consecutive interpretation provided by qualified interpreters on the Spanish channel. If watching on Zoom, you could join the Spanish channel by clicking on the interpretation icon in the Zoom toolbar. It looks like a globe. If you're attending in person and don't have access to the Zoom meeting from your mobile device, please come see me or Ms. Komoda, and we will get you set up with a device so you can listen to the meeting in Spanish. As a reminder, we ask everyone participating tonight to kindly speak slowly to allow our interpreter to effectively express your comments.
Antes de comenzar, nos gustaría anunciar que la reunión de esta noche contará con interpretación simultánea y consecutiva en español, a cargo de intérpretes calificados en el canal español. Si está viendo por Zoom, puede unirse al canal español haciendo clic en el icono de interpretación que aparece en la barra de herramientas de Zoom. Tiene la forma de un globo terráqueo. Si asiste en persona y no tiene acceso a la reunión de Zoom desde su dispositivo móvil, por favor, acérquese a la señora Komoda o a mí y le ayudaremos a conseguir un dispositivo para que pueda escuchar la reunión en español. Como recordatorio, pedimos a todos los participantes esta noche que hablen despacio para que nuestros intérpretes puedan expresar sus comentarios con claridad.
This meeting is being recorded, and members of the public can watch online or listen by phone by calling 669-444-9171 using the meeting ID 822-1885-1893. There will be an opportunity for public comment for those participating in person. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide their comments. We invite each of you to introduce yourselves by name before presenting your comments. We're offering closed captioning for this evening's meeting on Zoom. Please select the live transcript button on Zoom to enable this feature. I also want to note that viewers may request a reasonable accommodation to provide a public comment virtually. For more information about that, or if you experience any technical difficulties, please email PAAC@cityofsanrafael.org. As part of the city's recent audio and video upgrades, the Emergency Operations Center is equipped with highly sensitive microphones throughout the room. And so for those of you in the room, you can see them on the ceiling. The microphones are designed to capture all discussions clearly for the public record, including voices at low volumes. It is important to note that there are no tabletop microphones or no option to go mute or off the record while the meeting is in session. To support a clear, respectful, and accessible environment for everyone, including attendees, those viewing the recording, and our interpreters who rely upon clear audio to accurately translate the discussion. We ask committee members, speakers, and members of the public to avoid side conversations and crosstalk. Maintaining one speaker at a time helps ensure that all voices are heard clearly and the integrity of the public record is preserved.
Okay, great. We'll now go to other agendas. Lieutenant Everly, Angela, Teresa, report out committee reports.
The police department does have a update. I want to update the committee. Thank you, Chair Davidi, on equipment and personnel. Right now, we have 3 officers currently in the police academy set to graduate in May. 2 officers are set to start the police academy in April. They will graduate in August. And we are setting a goal to send 3 more to the police academy in July, who would then graduate in December. Our goal, we should be in very good shape in officer ranks. We are currently recruiting for 2 dispatch positions and 3 cadet positions. 2 weeks ago, we attended the San Rafael High School Career Fair Day, well received. And then last week, we attended the Terra Linda High School Career Day. Both events were well received. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Not to put you on the spot, do you know roughly how many officers we have right now, or what are we shooting for?
How many were short, or how many we have?
How many we have right now? You can tell me later.
Yeah, we have room for, I should know this, 69,
Okay.
including the chief.
Okay, cool.
And if we fill all the positions, we have about 4 to 6 to fill.
Okay, thank you. Okay, great. I'd like to ask our committee for reports from each member. I'll start with member Ong, please.
Chair, I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Member Camino.
Oh, good evening. I don't really have a major report today, but I would like to comment that it's Women's History Month. So congratulations to all the women who have done what they've done before us. And in that regard, I understand the Marin Academy girls basketball team came in 3rd and was on the top of the fold of the IJ. And the Marin Catholic girls soccer won their division. So congratulations to everyone and welcome.
Thank you. I will go to member Nguyen. Member Rodas, maybe I'll come back to you. Just got here. We're doing committee reports. Do you want to hit the ground running or
I don't have any major reports. So
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Member Ruiz.
Ya, estoy tocando puertas todos los viernes con el grupo Voces de Canal para que las personas de mi comunidad del canal conozcan sus derechos sobre la renta. Es lo que hacemos todos los viernes. Y también anoche tuvimos un cafecito, Voces de Canal, con el Capitán León para hacer repeticiones y también que nos pusiera al día de cómo está trabajando la policía actualmente para con nuestra comunidad. Eso es todo. Gracias.
Well, what I've been doing is on Fridays, I've been joining Voces de Canal. We've been knocking on doors and talking to neighbors to let them know about the rights that they have in regards to rent. And last night, we were able to have coffee again with members of Voces de Canal with Captain Leon, so he could give us some updates on how it is that the police department is developing ways of better interacting with our community.
Okay, thank you. Member Tokolahi.
Just one started what do you call it? A dad's group. Right now there's 6 of us. It's the 2nd week. It's growing. We met once a week. We go walk around, especially around the canal, and just generally talk about what we can do or what they can bring to this meeting. What we can do outside of this meeting in our communities. We all local, San Rafael, Canal, Terra Linda. So yeah.
That sounds exciting. Next time if you go, so you don't mind, maybe I'll join you guys.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Is
Let's,
it boys only? It's a dad's. It's a
We're
dad.
working with the dads now.
Okay.
And it's funny because all the dads have girls, like I have two girls. And we all look, after we met the first time we talked and we like, none of us have boys here. All the dads with girls, like we all hang out.
so. Okay, let's go to alternate member Locks, please.
No report.
Okay, alternate member Valdez.
Good evening. On Saturday, the 7th, I attended a community meeting, Canal Alliance, about Know Your Rights in Spanish, something like the presentation that we had on our last meeting. It was really good. I learned a lot. I shared the document that the staff created about the San Rafael Police Department of working with ICE, and people were really glad to know this information. A lot of them didn't know how that they don't work with ICE. Also, they asked how about the sheriff, but I told them that we don't know, but once we know, I will share the information with Canal Alliance and they can share it with the community. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. As for me, I attended an event called Seeds of Hope, which is sponsored by Lynn Murphy. I've become a big Lynn Murphy fan, tend to follow, see what she does. It's an amazing experience where you get to see the community and the unhoused community come together. You even get to break bread with them. They serve food. So I got food. I sat next to, other demographics of people and just kind of hear some of their stories. Our friend Jason Saras was there and he collects used clothing. I usually give mine to a Goodwill or Salvation Army, but now I feel like it could go directly and benefit our city. So that was nice, something I learned. I learned about the use of Narcan. So I saw people getting their haircut over there. So it's a really nice community event. Highly recommend going. I think it happens a couple of times a year, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's a quarterly.
Quarterly thing. Okay. Next, I was at an event where the warden of San Quentin was presenting. It was really nice to hear what he had to say, his vision, and how much work they're doing over there. I think that was really eye-opening. I went on a bike ride along with the safety coordinator of Marine Cyclists. I have a son, 50 and a half, rides his bike to San Rafael High School every day. So just trying to be more mindful of like pedestrian safety and traffic. And first day of spring, which I think in a couple of days is a Persian New Year. So I just want to say Happy New Year to all the Persians and that celebrate the first day of spring. And I will end with that. All right, let's go to our next topic here. I would like to invite public comment, please. Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Heidi, nice to see you. So you have in your packet an email that I wrote after the last meeting, and I kind of plan on doing that going forward now to wrap up. Or try to keep, it seems like we wrap things up and then they end and it doesn't come up again. I really wanted to highlight there was movement to have San Rafael PD report to us every month ICE activity, whether there was any or there wasn't any. And from the audience, it looked as if the chief talked you all out of it because he said there might not be anything to report. For me, as a community member, I want to know that because now they don't have to report anything to us because they're not doing a monthly meeting. I did watch the Truth Act forum on the 10th, which is about how the sheriff's office is cooperating with ICE. And there is a ton of community fear. People are scared. I know in the county where I work that a dad was snatched up at drop-off for school and everyone is terrified now. So because we didn't get that, I am a legal observer through the Marin Rapid Response Network. We have had 22 Marin residents detained since January 2025. And in the last 2.5 weeks, there have been 4 people, which is a lot if it's 22 over the last 14 months. 2 of those people were in Marin when they got detained and taken, and 2 were in San Francisco at hearings. So I think that's something we want to know as a community. And even I want the police department to hear, even if it's, we haven't heard anything from ICE, there hasn't been any activity that we know about, great, we want to know that part too. I also think that it's really important around the flock cameras that are establishing mass surveillance in our country to not assume that the settings are what Flock said, or that who San Rafael is sharing with is complying with the law, whether on purpose or by mistake. Because if you're following the paper, Tiburon and other jurisdictions didn't know. I want to know that Flock was sharing until they did audits, which makes it really important for San Rafael to do more regular, frequent audits so that we know if anything's being leaked to federal agencies or outside the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm confused. This is public comment on item 1, correct?
This is just, no, this is just public comment, no? No,
It's something that's. Oh, things not on the agenda.
no, this is what's not on the agenda. Yeah,
No,
No,
It-
I
it's-
think
it's- it's staff and committee reports. That's the public comment is being provided on.
okay.
Pardon me.
Oh.
Making sure I.
Okay.
So, all right, going back, light sensitivity and allergies, so that's why I have these stupid glasses on. Question regarding, regarding the Brown Act, as if, respectfully, like you ask questions and they clarify, right? So I know it's public comment on the item, but we sometimes ask questions and would like through you to have a little bit of feedback regarding our questions also, as you do, right? So my question is to Mr. Eberly, Lieutenant, regarding your I'm not sure, 6 or 4 new candidates that are in the academy. What are their demographics of those 4? I believe you said 4 or 6. How many are man or female? Maybe you said that. I don't think you did. And how many are Latin background or Black, or Caucasian, all that? That'd be just good. Great information that I would like to know. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. I will go to Ms.
So, not to be rude, but you give a chance to.
Would you like to respond?
I can if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
I'm trying to think here. So out of the 5 that are in the academy. So we have 2 white males, 1 Hispanic female, 1 Black male. 5. 1 Black male, 2 white males, 1 Hispanic male, and 1 Hispanic female.
Thank you. I think we're really putting you on the spot today, so.
Yeah, trying to remember.
All right. Thanks for the information.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All good. We'll go to Ms. Komoda as far as public comments via Zoom.
We do have 1 speaker.
Okay.
If you can unmute and you'll have your 2 minutes for comment on the staff and committee reports.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
This is Stephen Bingham, and I do appreciate the ADA accommodation permitting me to comment. I'm going blind and can't drive. I first of all wanted to second Heidi mentions comment about knowing whatever as the police department knows of ICE activity, even if there's nothing. That's important to know that this, from their point of view, that doesn't mean there wasn't nothing. That just means the police don't know it, but that's appropriate. Number 2, and I've raised this issue on a couple of occasions, police under Penal Code 853.6 have discretion to cite and release rather than arrest people for certain misdemeanors. And I have urged you to suggest to the police department that they do a training with the goal of getting police officers to maximize that discretion. Because what happens is if somebody is arrested, they are put into the jail log at the jail. That jail log, which the sheriff refuses to take off line is totally accessible to ICE, which means you might have somebody who's undocumented with a very minor issue. And all of a sudden, because the police officer decided to take him to jail, he's now going to be subject to deportation. So it's a very serious issue given what's going on in this country. And then finally, and again, I've raised this several times, I really wish that you as a committee would decide that public comment could be for 3 minutes. It's not as if there's 30 people lining up to speak. And you have the authority to do that.
Okay. Thank you. We will now move to the meeting minutes. I'd like to ask if there are any other questions from the committee. I'll ask from member Ong.
Chair, no questions.
Sorry, before I go, I have to technically close public comments and then, okay, go ahead.
Chair, I have no questions.
Okay, member Kamina,
No questions?
member Nguyen,
No question.
member Rodas,
No questions.
member Ruiz,
No question.
member Tokolahi,
No questions.
alternate member Locks,
No questions.
alternate member Valdez,
No question.
and I have no questions. I'd like to invite Ms. Komoda, public comments via Zoom. We did that already? Okay, it's on the, okay. Public comments closed.
In the room. In the room first.
Oh, sorry. Any public comments?
On
the minute.
On the minute. Yeah.
I don't see a copy of the minutes out there. I don't see a packet out there. I just see an agenda. So I believe I wanted to bring up again both the failure. I hope you will bring back up a request for the police department to say whether or not they've had any interaction with ICE or to know that ICE have been here. I hope you will also, the statement that SRPD will not cooperate with ICE is, we all want to hear that. We also want to see what that looks like in action. And so many cities and counties are creating ordinances that prevent ICE from staging on their property to conduct raids in their counties. And I would hope that you all would look into recommending something like that. You did say at your last meeting that your annual report was going to be at the city council meeting, and it was really sad to see that all your work and that things that are important for the council to know were merely in a staff report on the consent agenda. I don't really think that, I know that that was not the purpose of this committee when groups of us with residents from the canal and all over met with city staff for over a year to try to establish accountability. We did not imagine that it would be a report with a staff report that and no interaction with the council who actually makes decisions, because then this committee doesn't have any teeth or any power to actually make change that the community wants. And the staff report is from the city's perspective. And this committee was developed from the community's perspective to say, what do community members need to feel safe? What can the council do? What can the police department do to redefine, to transform safety, to say, these are areas where the police respond, and these are areas where the SAFE team responds, or other mental health professionals, or a neighborhood organization says like, hey buddy, you've had too much to drink, let me drive you home before something happens. Instances where we don't need people with a gun, we don't need people who can use force or beat people up, but we can, through community love, support safety in other ways. So I hope you all will keep pushing so that this committee actually can make a difference in our community. That's what we're all here for, and that's what we hope for.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. Komodo, is there anybody on the Zoom that wants to go?
On the meeting minutes.
Okay. I will close public comment. I'd like to ask if there's any comments from the committee. Member Ong? Member Camina,
None.
Member Nguyen, Member Rodas,
No comments.
Member Tokolahi,
No comments.
alternate Member Locks,
No comments.
alternate Member Valdez.
No comments.
And I have no comment. The only comment I have, I really like the setting of this room. I like the fact I don't have to first press the mic. It feels more natural. We can talk. I also like how there's like a circle that's happening with the audience almost halfway there. So even it looks very approachable. So what's that?
Has nothing to do with the minutes.
I know, but I just want to share anyway. You say things out of turn, so it's my turn.
I know.
All right,
No comments.
okay.
No comments.
No comments. Okay. Thank you. All right, let's keep rolling along here. I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, I will ask for roll call. Member Alm,
Present, approve.
Member Camina,
Approved.
Member Nguyen,
Approve.
Member Rodas,
Approve.
Member Ruiz,
Approve.
Member Tokolahi, and for me, approve also. Okay, now we open time for public expression. I'd like to invite public comment on any matter not listed on the agenda. I don't, yeah.
All right. Remember, we tried to have the meetings here first in the beginning, and we made a little bit of a stink because it's behind a locked door. It's in a police department building. And should members of the community who have had difficult interactions with the police want to come here and tell you, it doesn't feel like a safe space for that. And so while it's greatly improved from the last time we were here, and I am also emergency personnel for any disasters that happen in the county where I work. So I know it's really important to have an EOC room that has this kind of functionality, but I don't think that it provides safety. And I hope that you will still, you did have a conversation about a roadshow for this committee about going into communities, to community centers or places where people already gather, maybe churches when they're already having services, so that you can have a conversation with community in a place where their friends are and their neighbors are and they already feel safe. And I would also hope that we don't only need an ADA accommodation to allow for Zoom participation, because in the same sense, if someone wants to tell you all something that makes them feel unsafe about an interaction with the police department, they could come on Zoom rather than be in a room with members of the city and members of the police department who may make them feel unsafe. I think it's an accessibility, it's an inclusion issue, and we should open Zoom up more broadly for folks to participate. Thank you.
Look up SB 707. Church staff, yeah. So regarding Senate Bill 707, I'm sure staff is aware of this, that meetings will be open for Zoom purposes for transparency. And I expect City Council they closed their comments that Zoom a couple years ago because they didn't want to hear anything about equity or, issue with Black or respect for Black people. And if I'm not mistaken, SB 707 is required for this committee to open the meetings for Zoom also. If I'm not mistaken. Staff, per the Brown Act, after I leave, can weigh in and say if this committee has to do that. Regarding the city council meeting recently, and it went as we expected, right? Regarding it being on consent calendar, squashing of all information. You don't want to hear about RIPA. But the interesting is, there's a few of you who kind of have led that, and there's a few of you who maybe have taken a step back to out of respect, maybe the few of you trust in some of the other ones that are taking the lead in this. But RIPA and other data is important. So I ask again, if we're not willing to look at the RIPA data, why are we here? Which is pretty amazing. I don't have much to say other than that. Again, there's a few of you who have ties, ties to the city, friendships, working relationships. Those are usually the ones who kind of, who do those things, undermining the community. So I ask, why are we here if we can't even look at RIPA data? As I brought before, am I out of 2 minutes already?
Yes,
Damn.
thank you.
All right, I'll leave you with this. Next time I'll bring in again my little one-page document from the IJ regarding front license plates. I want some own data, my data regarding, are you pulling over Black people and Latin and Hispanic people for having no front license plates? If you go
Thank you,
outside
sir.
right now, you'll see thousands of white people driving around in fancy cars with no front.
Thank you, sir. I just want to say the comment that was made about the setting, I'm also interested in pursuing other settings that we can meet, and I have followed up, and I know that they're actively pursuing a setting that accommodates the Brown Act and the microphone and technology, so I also am in favor of a different setting, so I heard you there. We will go to Ms. Comida. Is there any comments via Zoom? Okay.
Please unmute.
Hello, hi, this is Stephen Bingham again, and I want to second the comments of the gentleman about SB 707. I was informed that the legal conclusion of the city attorney is that bill, now law, does not apply by law as a requirement for committees. I'm researching that, but in any event, you have the authority to do it anyway. There is nothing that prevents you as a committee from having a motion seconded and voted to allow this kind of comment online for everyone. I also wanted to bring up again, just so it doesn't get lost, I would encourage the committee to form a subcommittee on pretextual stops. It remains around the state and around the country, and including Marin, a huge problem, which is reflected in the RIPA report. Many counties, or several, I should say, including San Francisco, have explicitly excluded certain non-dangerous vehicle violations from leading to stops by police. Berkeley has or will have a Department of Transportation to carry out those functions. And you are in a driver's seat to begin to get that discussion going in Marin, so that we don't have the kind of pretextual stops. And as you all know, George Floyd and others, they all often lead.
Thank you, sir, for your comment. I see no other public comment. I will close public comment. Ms. Komodo, shall we break for toggled interpreters?
Just a moment, I just need to switch.
Okay. Okay, great. We have a very special presentation tonight from Marlene Capra from Speak Safe and District Attorney Lori Fergoli. A special presentation on child exploitation and human trafficking. Please calm down.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight. We are really excited to be able to be here tonight and give you an overview of the incredible work my team members, and these are just some of them, by the way, and myself are doing here in Marin County and in our community, and actually in the Bay Area, and actually globally, which I'll tell you a little bit about. But it's on our work on how to keep kids safe in the digital world, really, on exploitation and human trafficking, because we know that many types of exploitation are a gateway into someone being trafficked. And that's what we're seeing right now. And what we want to do is educate our students so they become more aware of the choices that they can make and make informed decisions. And not just our students, but they're the frontline defenders. Can we have the next slide? Thanks. So our mission here at Speak Safe, and by the way, Speak Safe, it stands for Save Adolescents from Exploitation. And we're really about empowering youth and our communities with education, awareness, collaboration, providing this education on prevention, exploitation. And by the way, it's like a living document. Can I tell you, I'm constantly changing my slides because the tech world constantly changes. And I feel like what I did last week or the week before is different. And I have new stats from last week that actually got into this deck here. But we do this so that students are not, it's not on fear and it's for the community, but it's on power. So we understand what are our choices. And then you can decide, this is what feels right for me. I'm going to make this choice. This is what I've seen.
Slow down. The interpreter's having a hard time keeping up with you.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Most people do. Thanks for reminding me. All right, we have the next slide. I'll try to go slower. All right, so these stats, like I said, are out from last week. And actually 94% of child sex crimes will happen contact on social media first. They're going to reach out and they're going to create a connection, a relationship with our young people in such a way that they feel connected. They trust this person. I mean, we've all kind of been there where we're chatted with someone, I have for a while, and I think this is a really good person. But do I know them that well? Maybe not. But does someone else know them that introduced me? Yeah. So let's start to think about that. So we see that as a gateway. 1 in 5 of our teenagers now have experienced extortion. And can I tell you, I started doing this in 2016. It has changed. And can I tell you what it was? Human trafficking in 2018 is so different in 2026. And that's what we need to understand, which is why we see so many of the trials that have gone forth in our own country, why they're not even convicted of this, because most jurors really don't really understand the situation that a survivor would be in or someone being victimized, but going back. But anyway, 1 in 5, and 1 in 5 know of someone that has also experienced extortion. 54% of our minors. Did you want to say something?
Sorry, yes, I do have a question. What's changed since 2018?
What's changed is our online platform. And as we go through this, you're going to see the online platform and how that's upped the game. Through technology, and technology is absolutely wonderful, don't get me wrong, but there's bad actors, and we'll go over this, but they've multiplied and leveraged it in such a way that they multiply their victims now. And we'll see this as I sort of begin to tell this through these slides. And I'm going to explain a few terms.
I just want to thank people. If you can, great questions, save your questions at the end. I know this is exciting, important, so please go ahead, save questions at the end.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Sorry. So 54% of our youth, and especially middle school students, have said to me, Marlene, I see signs of grooming online all the time. And so it's becoming more commonplace. It really is. They give me examples of this. 1 in 17 of our young people, by the way, have had an AI image, compromising image, naked pic, private image generated of them. I just saw some crazy stat that came out today, 26,000% increase from 2020 2024 to 2025 of these AI generated images. So it's an image that will be generated of a young person using an undressing app or something, for example. There's so many of them now, and it takes seconds. And within seconds, you just put this picture in. Within seconds, you have this that you're generating. And it's pretty authentic. That has changed, the technology. And only 20% will come forward. Let's go to the next slide. And as we do, I'm going to explain to you a couple of terms before we go on, because I keep referring to these. But exploitation, it's when someone or a group of people may trick you into doing something you don't want to do, either criminally or sexually. And that can be a gateway into someone being trafficked. And then we have sex trafficking, where we have someone that will use force, fraud, and coercion to force someone to engage in sexual acts with them. And it could be in exchange for something else, for food, some kind of support, especially for our young people, support, a place to stay, someone who they think really cares about them, for money, for drugs. And by the way, someone 18 years or younger cannot consent to be commercially sexually exploited. It's important to remember, because I'll have adults that say to me, well, Marlene, that 16-year-old was willingly selling herself. No, she wasn't willingly selling herself. She thought that was her only option. She was led to believe that this was support, even though it was unhealthy support. This is kind of the support she's become used to. And this is the only support in her life right now. She doesn't have any other support systems to go to, because maybe we haven't made those available, which in a lot of situations, it's not there. So then we have labor trafficking too, when someone is by force, fraud, and coerced in a labor situation. And I've seen our young people working for someone and not getting paid, waiting to get paid, working long hours, or when they do get paid, it's very little. So I just want to sort of go over those really quickly. So our organization, as I said, we've partnered with we're in the Coalition to End Human Trafficking. It's here tonight, and many of our partners in our county, also the Office of Education. We work with our San Francisco Collaborative Against Human Trafficking. We've also presented at the UN in New York, and recently last year in Vienna on our model right here in Marin County. They love our model. They're using it globally, by the way, of our student interns. I'm going to have them introduce themselves to you tonight, because they're the rock stars. We have over 40 high school, college students that have come on our team. We're growing, so we need your help. We need your support to be able to bring their voice and further it in our county. And it's their openness and willing to talk about this topic and learning about this topic, being mentored and bringing this to their own peers who are opening a door for them to come forward and realize that they don't have to stay in that situation. So I'm going to have them start tonight. And could we start with you, Nora?
I'm Rona, and I am a pre-nursing student at the College of Nursing. I'm Emma. Thank you for having us. I am a junior at San Marin High School. I'm Nora Shulkin. I'm from San Marin High, and I'm also a junior.
I'm Travis. I'm from Dominican. I'm a psychology major.
I'm Michael Castillo. I'm also a psychology student from Dominican.
Hi, my name is Jason Halpern. I'm a psychology major at the Dominican University of California.
Hello, I'm Daniela Contreras. I'm a senior at Navarro High School.
Hi, I'm Rita Yam, and I'm a cybersecurity major at Santa Rosa Junior College.
My name's John Hamill, Santa Rosa Junior College firefighter EMT.
Hi, I'm Greta Kirshner, and I'm a senior at Nevada High School.
Thank you.
They're completely amazing, amazing. I'm in awe. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? And so we have our goals at Speak Safe, and I'm going to have Greta and Emma tell you a little bit about that.
Right, so our goals at Speak Safe as interns, we work with Marlene to present to local communities, such as students from elementary to high school. We also try to inform their staff and just local communities here on the tools that we use to spread awareness on this topic, as well as provide resources on how to take down any exploited photos of minors, and just educate different platforms of different people at different ages with various materials.
Yeah, and by giving information about this, we hope to prevent the spread of more exploitation and to inform people so they can make decisions about this that are good for them and not get into bad situations. And we also try and inform other members of our community, like nurses and doctors and some EMTs.
It's an important point, because we're doing, all these are important points, but we're doing our wellness weeks coming up now in April. We've done our ER at our local hospital. So just to see all that. I also want to say that we also educate elementary school students as well, because by the time we get to middle school, we find that many have been exploited. So we need to really educate in an age appropriate way. Can we have the next slide? So these are some of the topics we cover in a training. And would anybody like to take this one? Is that really? Oh yeah, Travis, go ahead. It's all yours.
Good. So many of the topics that we cover, we mainly focus on all the different types of healthy, or I guess in this case, unhealthy relationships that kids can experience online as they grow. Obviously, there's digital abuse that happens around, whether it be on social media sites, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, it's there. In turn, consent, you would think that it would be an obvious thing, but a lot of people don't know how to give consent simply because they've never been taught. Lots of people have different variants of what that is, and you can never be too safe. Lots of people don't go through the full steps. They also don't do it every time. Someone might do it once. It's a continuous thing that has to happen. That's not taught very much within the school system, whether it be in the lower systems or at the colleges that I know that me and other friends go to. Something that I know we'll dive even deeper into throughout this presentation is AI chat companions. This is one that throughout the last couple of years has really, really ramped up. Because it's so new, no one knows what it can do, and it grows every day, which, as we'll go through, is really, really getting to a scary point. Beyond just deep fakes, there are people that will grow relationships with AI, they'll have conversations, and they'll use it to replace real life interaction, and that can happen in a sexual way that people use to exploit, whether it be ChatGPT or any other sites. We also talk about bystander intervention online, just what we're doing here, talking about how we as people who aren't minors can do our part to help raise awareness for things like grooming, vulnerabilities, and love bombing. Like as earlier, just constantly giving people how things change as we grow and learn, especially as a psychology major. It's relationships, that's what we study. That's constantly changing as the world changes. So as we grow, so does the work that we do. Mandated supporter reporting, when you see something, know how to recognize it and know who to talk to. That's something that we go about, just as how to respond, whether it's harm reduction, safety planning. No matter how much planning we do, we cannot help everyone. The goal of this is to help as many people as we can. So for the people that are unfortunate enough to not be able to, even if they do take all the precautions, to still feel and get exploited, we want to let them know that there are ways that we can reduce the harm that has already happened when we catch it, and ways that we can protect their safety after we learn what's happened. Same with body autonomy, just like I talked about a little earlier, just knowing what that is, what rights that we have, what constitutes as body autonomy, and the inner voice. It's very hard for people who have been sexually exploited to come out. It takes a lot of courage just to be able to admit that it's something that has happened to you. So just teaching someone how they can handle that, even if they're not ready to get to the point where they are, how they can handle it on their own. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's great. Thank you so much, Travis. We have the next slide. And I do want to say, so that everyone understands this, that in 2018, this became policy. It became a mandate right here in California. AB 1227. Everyone in our community, our schools, were supposed to receive this. So school staff should be getting education on human trafficking and the trauma associated with harm reduction. Many of the topics that we're trying to cover here, actually, that we've extended, how to report. And then students were supposed to get education as well. The mandate only covers, by the way, middle and high school. And like I said, we also do elementary school. Then in 2020, the mandate added parents and caregivers. Of course, it includes social media, apps, gaming. In 2024, it began to include sextortion. Now, sextortion's been around for a while now, to be honest. We've probably been educating on that since 2022. an AI probably since 2023, really, because that's really when it started to go crazy. And as far as in some directions we didn't want to see it go with our kids. So just to let you know that, and there is no funding. And so the funding comes from these generous donors in our community that value our work. And that's why this has gone forward. So can we go to the next slide? So sextortion. And we're going to go over just a couple of different examples. This is probably one of the most common ones we see really here in the county. And sextortion is this threat that I'm going to expose this image of you or these images of you if you don't do or say what I'm asking you to do. It can come at the hand of someone you know quite well. It could come at the hand of someone you're in a relationship with, to a student on our team. It could come in the hand of someone you met online, developed a relationship with, and now they're pressuring you that if you don't send more photos, they're going to release what they already have on you to your whole contact list. Or it could come from someone that's scamming you online. And we actually had a case, a high school guy here in our own county, one of our high schools, he's 17 years old. He was having a conversation with another 17-year-old girl who he thought was a 17-year-old girl. She sent a compromising pic of herself, asked him to do the same. Eventually he gave in and he did send one. And after that, she wanted $2,500. And it wasn't she, he wanted $2,500. He was exploiting him at that point, and he had said that his life wasn't worth living. He might as well forget it because this was going to his coaches and his teachers and his teammates. And, you know, at that point, and I didn't know about it, obviously at that point, he decided, fortunately, not to send him the money. Many students do not do that. And so he didn't send the money. And what happened was the pic went out, and this other student on our team found what was going on. She connected me to him and we helped him. We were able to get that pic taken down. We got him to talk about reporting and get some support after going forward. That's one type we see in our county. There's another type we're seeing right now, to be honest, that's probably a little more on the rise. And I'm going to have Rona tell you a little bit about that.
So I have a story from when I was in middle school. It was in 2018, but this girl, basically she sold images of herself because she just wanted money. She thought, you know, this is the only way I can get money. I'm 13 years old. I can't get a real job. So I'm gonna sell pictures of myself, get money. She sold the pictures, and the guys that she sold the pictures to spread the pictures everywhere, got spread to, you know, school, all the middle schools in it was in Novato, but probably more in Marin. And this happens all the time now. We see it still happening. This is not just one instance. It just happens, all the time. So.
Yeah, we've had a couple other cases in our high school right here locally where girls were actually selling their pics and not realizing the extent of what was going on at that point. Can we have a next slide?
Sure. So everybody, if you can take a beat,
Sorry, we're so passionate about this topic. It's just really
have a hard time keeping up with everyone.
So here we go, the rise of AI, really, and this is kind of what the first question early on was about, like, you know, what are we seeing with AI? And I have to say, let's face it, ChatGPT is great. We use it for admin, protocol, a lot in a work situation, emails. It's pretty handy. Hopefully I won't become too dependent on it, but it's really, really good. And we know that. But then there's a lot of bad actors in there. We have to be futurists. Our predators are futurists. We have to look at this technology in a way, how are they going to use it to exploit our kids? And we see that. We see that with catfishing. Catfishing is this phenomenon of pretending to be someone you're not, pretending to be a 8-year-old when you're really a 40. So for example, in this case right here, and so we see the increase of catfishing due to AI. It's definitely changed the game on all platforms. And I think, was it Travis that just mentioned, this isn't just some of our platforms, it's everywhere. It's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's Snapchat, it's all over. It's not just one or the other. So for us to think it is, and our messaging apps, definitely, anything encrypted. But we had a 10-year-old gaming with another 10-year-old. And one of our students, it was his brother actually, student on our team. So they were gaming, they developed a relationship, they're part of this gaming group. And eventually what happened was, I guess his brother began to see that his voice was actually different. And he began to realize that this wasn't another 10-year-old. He had used a voiceover. And because of that, he was actually conversing with a 45-year-old. These predators know where to go. They go where our kids are at. So Roblox, any of the gamings that were set up, and especially for these really younger kids too, it's really easy to get in there. You go to an avatar that looks like a kid. You start, you talk like them. You have a chat companion that prepares you for this. Maybe this chat companion is more of an agent for you at this point. There's so many creative ways right now. So we have to be creative too. So can you go back to that last slide? I just want to make sure I covered everything. Oh, and then we see AI, how it's being leveraged in grooming right now too, and just in relationships, and how it's being leveraged as far as multiplying how that's getting out there with our chat companions. And that info that's getting out back to our kids, they can do it at they could do multitude of people at one time. So it really has changed the game in so many respects. Okay, now can we go to the next slide? Thanks. And then we see the chat companions right now. And it was interesting about a year and a half ago, actually, when I was educating on this, people in our county thought, oh, no one does this. Of course, when I started educating actually in 2017 about human trafficking, they thought no one did that either. Or it didn't happen here. But when I started talking about this, people thought, oh, that's just, that's not going to happen. Oh, no. Oh, it has. 72% of our teens are actually have used a chat companion. 56% of them use it on a regular basis. It's become a go-to now. It's a go-to in the sense of wanting to create a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a coach, a mentor, a teacher, to experience a type of relationship you want to be in. Maybe it's an abusive relationship. What happens is it pushes a lot of sexual content. It'll push some type of manipulation towards you, or violence possibly towards you. It encourages you in a direction sometimes that's just not a healthy direction. And we've seen this bear out. There's no doubt about it. The young man up to the right is Sewell Setzer. He committed suicide, and his case just settled. He committed suicide last year. And Sewell wanted to go be with his AI girlfriend. First girlfriend, 14 years old. He actually, I guess, characterized her or formed her to be someone that was sort of after his, it was an anime character in one of his gaming games that he was into, and her name was Annie. He wanted to go be with Annie, and Annie came up with ways for him to go do this. And so he decided that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to be with her. We've had other youth, their health, whether they've committed suicide, harmed themselves, or their health has been compromised in some way. And I bring this up because this is changing relationships. This is changing the health of our kids. This is changing exploitation, and this is changing human trafficking. And so we need to understand how these gateways are connected and can very well be connected. It's interesting. I do want to say too, students have said to me, if I have a major decision in my life, I go to my chat companion. They're always available 24/7. Like, who's always available? They always affirm me in my decision. They're always supportive. It's not a realistic relationship, right? And so when we think about it, relationships are hard. They're challenging. They take a lot of work. And this is a way for them to think this is what the norms is. Go to the next one. Thanks. So how it's happening locally, and I'm going to have Danny tell you a story about that, and Rita as well. I'm just going to highlight a couple of the ways, and I'm not going to go into the social media gaming aspect of it, but I will say peer-to-peer recruitment. We definitely see that in our youth, where a student will befriend another student and recruit them in a way that thinking that this is going to be so great for them. They're going to have control over their life, and possibly they don't have a lot of support at home. We see youth with higher adverse childhood experiences from our compromised communities, from our Black and Brown communities, being exploited at 4 times the percentage rate. So to understand that there's so many factors that come into someone's vulnerabilities of being exploited and or trafficked. We're seeing more and more eating disorders with our tweens. tweens, that's like 8 to 13 or 8 to 12. There was something crazy, like a 650% increase over this last year because they're so used to these body filters that you could put on to take off lines, to take off fat areas. And this is becoming the norm of what they think they should go look like. They've talked about it takes hours for them to leave the house in order to get themselves looking the way they feel they should. So, but we see these as gateways is what I want to say. Also, in a labor situation, I've had youth working at possibly a fast food restaurant, small business, who have said to me, you know, I haven't gotten paid yet. They're not paying me for my work, but I can't say anything. And I'll be like, why? And they'll be like, Marlene, I'm 16. Like, who's going to hire me? Where am I going to go to get work? So anyway, so now I'm going to have Rita and or who was it that was going to tell? Oh, Danny, sorry. There's so many wonderful students.
Yeah, so I happen to know the case of a high school senior now that a couple of years ago, she had just a really bad breakup. She decided that she was just gonna like forget about it, was gonna just go into social media. And one time she just saw a post that was like relatable. Oh yeah, many people are breaking up now. Let me just comment on it. And some random person replied to her and they were saying, hey, I also went through something similar to you. What if we chat a little? And so they just happened to be in the same county, Marion County. So they chatted for a long time. Days passed by. And so she didn't really want to have anything to do with it, but eventually this person just started flirting, love bombing. They were saying, I know we went through like really hard times. Let me help you. Let me like be the one for you to be there. Let's date. Let's come together. And so she was doubtful about this person. She saw his profile and, oh yeah, it looks like a high school student. But then pictures began to be sent. It was like one-time view pictures, private parts of this person. And so eventually she just blocked him because she didn't want to have anything to do with that. But a week later, another account reached out to her and it was of a randomly, seemed like it was just made such account. And they started telling her, hey, you're actually pretty, you're cute, you're a lot of compliments. Some investigation happened. It was the same account, same person, just with different names, accounts, still trying to reach out to her. And it was local. So yeah, that's an example of social media, of just people trying to use unhealthy relationships or like use breakups and emotional vulnerability to just reach out to these people.
Thank you, Danny. Thanks for that. Rita, did you want to add something?
Yeah, so I know from personal experience and from peers that have also been through similar situations that how do I say this? That people that come from you know, dysfunctional families or you know, have been severely bullied or come from the LGBTQ community, I know that they're a lot more prone to being groomed and exploited because they don't get that attention from home or they don't get that attention at school from peers or anything like that. And, you know, they're really at risk of, you know, being sexually exploited or labor exploited.
Thanks. Quick event. So some prevention strategies, and we are going to have Michael. Is it Michael? I'm trying to remember who's on this one. Sorry, guys. I think it's. Oh, I think it is you. Go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, some strategies that we can use to prevent sort of these situations nowadays is education, definitely, not only for high school students, also for parents, so they can like take action if they see anything going on with their children, or people in charge in community, local authorities. education is key for everyone. People can always learn more. Body autonomy for sure, knowing what your rights are in your own body, consent. Like Marlene said, no one under 18 should be able to consent. Even if they do, they aren't actually legally allowed to. So knowing what your consent rights are would be nice to prevent this. And knowing what a healthy relationship looks like, it's also great. I feel like this will be a great unit in health classes during high school or even younger, because some people just have these healthy relationships ideas coming from their peers. They think, oh yeah, this is what is a healthy relationship, but they might not be true. And digital body language. So does yes always mean yes? If someone's just feeling pressured, they might consent or say yes to things they actually don't really mean to say yes to. So teaching about knowing how to read a person and knowing what they actually want would be great.
Consent is really important, as Danny says, and it's because many of our teens have said to me, well, I said yes, and so I really couldn't change my mind. So I say, why not? You said yes, but maybe you felt good then. You don't feel so good anymore. Yes, you're entitled to change your mind. We've got to keep reaffirming that with them. Also, this bystander intervention, so you understand what that is. It's when youth are online and they see someone who's being exploited, how do they help them? How do they help them and keep themselves safe? We talk about really literally taking some screenshots, reporting, turning the thread around. But these are strategies, actual strategies that we come up with for them. Could go to the next one, thanks. And so some of the topics we cover, let's just cover a few just in the interest of time. Michael, do you want to do a couple?
Hi, so here are some topics that we cover in regards to like teaching high school students. At that age, gaming is especially for high school boys, like gaming is pretty prevalent, and like nowadays anybody can play video games, and with voice chat and like text chat and all that, you can virtually make friends with everyone. And it's important that we teach the students that to be careful of who they talk to online, because as Marlene mentioned earlier, anybody could possibly be using a voice changer. And we also teach them to know which adults they can trust, because as hard as it may be, pretty much anybody can exploit you. Mm-hmm. So we teach them to know for sure who they can trust, like maybe a parent or a trusted teacher. And one last thing, we teach them to get consent online. So it's like if they want to say no to someone texting them, hey, can you send me an image or whatever, we make sure that it's okay to say no.
Yeah, those are really good points, Michael. When you're talking about adults, it's really important our kids understand who are the trusted, healthy adults in their life. And let's face it, we've got some great teachers, great coaches, great mentors. I'm going to be the first to say I'm so grateful. We need all of them, all hands on deck, no doubt about it. At the same time, we have some unhealthy ones. And we got to face what we do have and what we've seen over this last year in our schools and surrounding Bay Area as well. So for our kids to understand, what are some signs of that? What does it look like? What they can do in coming forward and how to respond. And this way they feel more equipped. And we're already talking about it as a community. And I got to tell you that predators are less likely to exploit when the whole community has been educated on this topic. Have the next one. So as we come toward the end, we have tools for responding. These are some of the tools that we use. In the interest of time, we have stop non-consensual images. That's actually for 18 and over. And then for 18 and younger, it's on our Take It Down site. And that's actually through NCMEC, National Center of Missing Exploited Children. And this is what I used in that case I referred to. And there's some other avenues too, but these are really our two main ones. These are our local resources. And I put this up because can I tell you that most times, 9 times out of 10 when I present, Nobody knows our local resources. That's crazy. We should all know where to go and what to do. You know, survivors have said to me and on our team, what we do with every education, we have a safety plan. Because if something were to happen today, where would you go? What would you do? Who would you reach out to? What would you ask? And now it's not really a question of if, it's sort of when, 1 out of 3. So what are our resources? Knowing we have National Center of Missing Exploited Children, we got that cyber tip hotline on there. The Take It Down site is on there. We have the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 24/7 confidential hotline that you can text, Community Violence Solutions, our local police department, sheriff department. And if anybody needs anything else, please reach out to us at Speak Safe. Yeah, the next one. And then this is our fabulous internship program. I'm going to have a couple of our students tell you about that. Greta?
Yeah, so our internship program works with high school and college students. We try to recruit people for the upcoming year as some of us are leaving. But we work together and meet like about twice a month, sometimes over Zoom, to come together and discuss the topics that we want to present to communities like you guys to help further inform everyone in different age groups on this. And yeah, we just work to compile the most information and statistics that we can to educate and keep preventing these factors in the future.
Emma?
Our team is currently over 40 students. We're always onboarding new students for anyone who wants to join. A really important thing that we do as students is we act as the eyes and ears in a lot of instances for this organization, since we usually firsthand witness so many more instances of youth being exploited in different ways or of new things that are always popping up.
Anybody else want to add anything? Okay, next slide. Last slide here. These are our key takeaways. Nora and Emma.
Okay, so just like to wrap up this presentation, what is it most important to remember is that exploitation is happening in every community. You've heard stories of it here happening locally. It's happening, I can guarantee, in every single other community in the nation. And even locally, the stories that we've told you aren't the only ones happening. If we were to tell all the ones that were happening, we'd be here all day. And those are just the ones that are reported. Those are the ones where the pictures happen to be spread or someone happens to have that support system they feel confident disclosing that sensitive information to. There are so many other cases where nothing happens, no awareness is spread about it, and those victims are just sitting there with that traumatic experience like weighing on their chest. They have no one to go to. So it's important to acknowledge that even if we're unaware of it, even if it's not in the news, even if it's not being spread through like presentations like this, it is still happening no matter what. Additionally, our role and your guys' role, everyone's role in education and open conversation to protect youth, we have to talk about this. It is a very sensitive subject. Obviously, we've talked about suicide, sexual exploitation. There's a lot of like stigma surrounding it, but we have to destigmatize that if actual real change has to happen. And everyone has a role, and like everyone who affects the youth in this community has a role and a responsibility to help the youth, because as we've seen, this is increasing with technologies such as AI, social media. It is only increasing, and that means that we have to increase our efforts to try to combat it. And as we have brought up again, there's no way to fully combat it, but at least to reduce the negative impacts that it's having on our youth and provide them ways to support them after the fact, to show how to take these pictures down and to prevent it from escalating to the point of human trafficking. Very importantly, everyone who's sitting in this room or on Zoom can also play a very important role by speaking out when they say something. We have so many instances where we see something and we're not sure where to go, who to tell it to. But if you see something in your life or in someone else's life happening, you can always reach out to our resources. You can always not bystand and help in that situation. And by doing that, we can all help end the spread of exploitation.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
No,
Go.
questions.
Sorry.
There's a second half.
I know, but this is specific to this. The other half is.
Remember, we have a schedule. I got you. So let's follow the program. Lieutenant Everly, what's the next step right now?
Teniente Everly, ¿cuál es el siguiente paso?
Is toggling the interpreters.
probably fed up with us.
No, nobody's fair, no. But we have another presenter on his side. Yeah, please, thank you.
Does it not make more sense to ask questions after this presentation?
Tiene más sentido hacer preguntas después de nuestro siguiente presentación.
We're just gonna finish toggling the interpreters and then
let's
just one moment for some administrative.
Kids are gonna leave.
Are the kids leaving?
Yeah.
Okay, then I like for us to ask questions now before they leave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was not aware of that.
Well, because I couldn't have them stay for the 2 hours. They have to get back to homework. We want them to do well.
Yeah, so, we good to go?
We're good with the interpreters.
Okay, why don't we do this? I like to ask members of the committee, please ask questions, no comments. In the interest of time, be specific and make it brief so we can be respectful. I'd like to start with Member Alm.
Thank you for your time. Wonderful presentation. You guys are an amazing, articulate, intelligent youth group. I'm very proud of the work you're doing. I really appreciate it. I'm always a data person. So I noticed that on one of your slides, you state 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys, but the following slide states teen boys targeted by financial sextortation at an alarming rate. Those numbers kind of just don't jive. Could you just give me a little bit better explainer?
I think they have to do with I don't have it in front of me right now, but I think it has to do with the type of exploitation that relates to sextortion. Actually, sextortion just got changed. It was 1 in 7. Now it's 1 in 5. That was last year. And over the last 2 years, these reports, like AI, for example, we've only got really 1 full year of a report to go by right now on the data we have from this last year. But yeah, this just relates to sextortion and what we see in different types of that. There's different types of exploitation with boys and with girls. We're seeing, 1 in 3. This has to do with this financial sextortion that we're seeing,
Can you differentiate it for me a little?
So let's see, 1 in 3 girls are being exploited like for pics or compromising pics, meeting up in person, more of a sexual relationship possibly. The boys are being exploited financially or in a financial scam or something to that respect. But in general, we see a higher percentage of girls being exploited with sextortion than boys. But this is kind of what we're seeing. And then overall is for sextortion between the two, all genders, we're seeing 1 in 5.
Do most youth even recognize grooming and what it is, and how can we better educate on that?
Do most
even understand what grooming is?
No. And so what's really interesting is I go in and I break that down. What is grooming? Here are some examples. How does it happen? Have you seen this? Let's talk about it. We'll do some breakouts and we'll have questions because I want their thoughts. I want them to be able to understand. I want their voice on it and I want their questions. And so they don't. And a lot of times we assume they have this in their health class. I mean, my students have said to me on my team from year to year, Marlene, I've never heard this before. One of our students who educated last year told our participants, which was a school staff, I was never taught this. This is not in health class. So it's not. This isn't something they haven't heard until they came here. And these are the things our youth should be hearing about. The grooming, the love bombing, how AI is used, AI agents, how they're being used right now. Are you talking to one? It would look like this.
My last question, thinking about a very small minority group of youth, emancipated minors, what does consent look like for them? Specifically, we have a lot of immigrants who came here unaccompanied and they received an emancipated status. So do they fall into that legal loophole as far as 18 and under go?
Legally, they do fall into that loophole. But I'm trying to understand because it's one of those things, to be honest, we don't have a lot of resources for them.
Yeah, I could answer that. No. So if you're and there's lawyers in the room as well, even our VA, if you're at a certain age, the penal code says you're under 14, doesn't matter if you're emancipated or not. If you're under 18, doesn't matter if you're emancipated or not. And
Very
you're a
black and
victim, yes, it's very black.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to member Kamina, please.
I don't have any questions, but I do have comments for later.
Okay, member Nguyen.
I have a question. Is what's the age group that you usually work with, or just the college, the student college in Cal State or universities too?
You mean on our team?
Yeah,
That can be part of our student internship program, or that we educate. So this is our team, and we have more students, 40, and they are either usually a sophomore, junior, senior in high school, or they're college or beyond college, and they're on our team. And who we present to is anywhere from elementary school all the way up to, we've done college, we've done conferences, and then obviously we educate parents and caregivers and communities and families.
But you work with the school in the Marine only, or?
Well, our students are here locally. So as far as bringing this model, we work with, this model goes into our schools here locally. Now, I've presented in New York and Vienna, and that is different. We don't necessarily bring our students there to something like that, but on a daily basis with the work that we are doing, it is here locally in Marin County because our students are based locally in Marin.
Is it only in the Marin County?
Marin, yeah, we've done work in, East Bay, Sonoma as well too. But obviously our students attending here makes it, like tonight was hard enough.
Yeah.
The traffic, right?
Oh, the traffic, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to member Rodas, please. Question?
Yes, unfortunately, I have a lot of questions, but I don't, for the sake of time, I don't want to ask all of them. I do want to start by saying thank you. Everybody who's presented today has been very articulate. I'm so glad to see that we have a youth population that has been so passionate about this. One thing about me is I serve on the school board for San Rafael City School Districts. So knowing and recognizing and seeing that our youth is passionate about this topic means a lot to me and the entire community. This topic is one of those things that is unfortunately something we have to speak about. I wish it didn't exist. You had said, well, let me ask you this. If a youth or if somebody shares a picture of themselves, how do they deal with that without this fear of somebody else sharing it? What steps can they take? I know we talked or you had spoken a little bit about that, but let's say somebody in middle school sends a picture of themselves and how do they get rid of that?
Well, first they start by trying to get it taken down.
Sure.
So we could start there and get it taken down. That doesn't mean it's not going to get circulated
further.
And somebody could have taken a screenshot, which means we have no control over that. The best thing to do is find out who did that, who is the predator, that's the abusive person here that's sending child sexual material, because they're sending CSAM. I mean, let's face it. So that's another whole issue. And let's get that person. That's the person we need to be looking at, not the victim here. And we need to sort of educate our communities that when our youth come forward, they're the hero here. They're the ones we're going to support and be behind. We need to look at this totally different, and our students need to, and they're not going to unless we do. So I always tell our students, before you, there was someone else that exploiter exploited. And after you, there will be someone else again. So getting that person reporting on that person, and then getting the support that young person needs, possibly their family needs going forward. Usually it's something that is all inclusive. But along those lines, there's only so much we can prevent. We know that. But we can take some strategies and tools to look at what we can do the best we can to reduce the harm. And if we make a decision that's not a great decision, we pivot and we see what we can do. But we don't look at it as if the person who comes forward is the problem here.
Right. Who is the best first person of contact that a person should reach out to? Is it the police department?
So are we talking a student? This happened to a student, possibly.
Sure.
I'd say their parent.
The parent.
You reach out to your parent. You let your parents know that if they have that kind of relationship. Not everyone does. So we need to understand that as well. or a trusted friend, a trusted person, a mentor in their life. That's part of their safety plan coming up. Who are those people in my life that I would go to if I were to be exploited? And what would I say to them? That's part of it. You made that list. You know who those people are. That person will help you and then reach out. I always say to students too, get together with your close group of friends and you guys all talk together. It's not if, it's when. When something happens, where will we go and what will we do? And we do know, and you know, when I think of our undocumented youth here, and I just think of those that have been exploited prior. And what happens is they're more inclined to be exploited again. And I've seen that, and they're not coming forward. So we need to make this education available to everyone and the resources and the support so everyone has that information. And the San Rafael City School Board could be a very big help in that area. Thank you.
Right, and then, sorry, 2 questions, I'll narrow it down. We spoke a little bit about dysfunctional families, and it tends to be that the children that come from these sorts of families are a bit more vulnerable to this sort of nature. Since they can't, let me try to carefully phrase this. Since they probably don't have the best people at home to come to and rely on, how do people in those situations, how can they deal with this sort of nature?
That's a very good question. I was someone who was exploited when I was younger. I didn't have that functional family to go home to. I was first generation here. Not a whole lot has changed. So you go to other people in your life. I didn't have anybody else, so mine went on for a while because it will. Someone who's exploited will stay in that situation for years until they realize that they're in that situation. And many times you don't. You just think it's your own fault. So for students who don't have that support system at home, we want to say that you reach out to those trusted adults in your life. Is it a coach, a teacher, a mentor, your friends, some really good peers in your life that'll have your back and be there for you? And when we help students understand these are the best strategies going forward, and I've really worked on helping our students talk about reporting because I want them to understand this is something we have to come forward about. Because we don't want predators to have the upper hand. There's just no reason for that. So really partnering with our local law enforcement and realizing we're all on the same team is extremely important.
Perfect. And then last question, you know, I feel fortunate enough to have you and the rest of your team give these sorts of presentations at our schools. I think it'd be more than valuable. I wanted to ask about
Your San Rafael City Schools, correct?
San Rafael City Schools.
Yeah, we've done the wellness teams,
Oh, perfect.
not the school staff.
Perfect. I had a question. I don't know why it slipped my mind. Probably gonna have to come back to me.
Okay, Member Ruiz. Question.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm so happy because this group have many students from different universities in high schools represent our community or a county. Your job is amazing job, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate. And are you accept more people in your group?
We do. Our work has just grown so much. So if you know of any students who are interested, send them our way.
Okay. Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, thank you for
coming.
saying that. Thank you for your
I
thought.
appreciate.
I
Thank you
appreciate
for the
that.
presentation.
All right, Member Tokolahi, question, please.
I have 2 questions. Pretty much piggybacking on some of these. My first one regarding the unaccompanied minors. My wife was a high school teacher, and she stays after school and help these kids. When she comes home and shares, we have 2 girls. They're 14 and 11 now. I might get emotional. It pissed me off. I'm sorry. And when you talk, you know, when you're presenting, I was thinking about these kids. I'm also mad that none of these kids are not in San Rafael High School on the list. Most of them live in the canal. these unaccompanied minors, do you recruit them? Is there any of them in your team?
We have students that are from our Canal area, yes, on our team. We've educated, it's been a while since we've been back, but Canal Alliance, we are always available to educate, may I tell you? Can I tell you that it's getting us on their calendar, your calendars, that have been a challenge. So trust me, our compromised communities, we are so there to want to educate. We work a lot with all our compromised communities in our county. I mean, we've educated our LGBTQ communities. I've done all their wellness counselors, also in Bayview area, in Sausalito. And so, I mean, we're all over Marin. By that token, I don't want to let you think that it only happens there. Because I can tell you right now, I see it in every zip code. It just happens in a different way. But what I don't like, what I'm seeing there though, is that they're not coming forward because they don't want to bring attention. They don't want to talk about it. And they don't even want to stand up for someone else because they don't want to bring attention to themselves if they do come forward. So there's so many dynamics. And so we really do need to continue to further our work, and there's no doubt about it. Yeah. So we'd love to.
Thank you. And my last question is just, do you guys have a physical space? Like a drop-in center? Because there's a lot of, I also want to change the narrative of not just informing parents, not just training, telling this, telling who, like this training and stuff. I work with a lot of young people, Pacific Island young people throughout the Bay Area. And I did this with UNICEF before I moved here. And I can tell you the most effective way of working with young people is having a physical spot. To be honest, that's just me. Having a physical spot. That's fine. The work that you guys are doing, awesome. But if you don't have a spot where all these young folks come together, like we are trying to get them off the screen. But if we're doing all of this on the screen, it's like, what's the point? You know?
Thank you.
That's my questions. Do you guys have a physical spot? Like,
I wish we had a physical spot. We're not really set up to be a teen center or something like that, but a physical spot where we even have our students come work because I'm flooding the coffee houses in Marin County. But can I tell you, all our funding goes toward educating your students, our students here in Marin County. That's where it all goes to. I would love to. So we had enough support, donations, grants, it would be phenomenal. We could expand. I'd like more than that. I'd like more resources because our students that were in compromised situations that have wound up on the streets, I've had to help and get support for, and that's been difficult. So it'd be so nice to have a little more of that. We do have a lot of collaborative partners for aftercare, and so that's been extremely helpful. But actually a space for our growing team of students so we could really have a hub for this work and that students could come to know that they could come forward to talk to someone about how to get more support would be great. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Alternate member Locks.
First of all, thank you for coming, each and every one of you. I'm giving you each and every one of you a grandmother kiss and a grandmother's hug, individually, not collectively, individually. Thank you. My question is, when I was hearing about some of the ways that students needed to get money, that bothered me a lot. I don't understand posting pictures to get money when you can be a live model in any art school and get lots of money. So when people say, I don't know any other way, there are many ways that don't compromise yourself. Also to hear that, and I think like we're told now not to answer the phone with your regular voice, like say hello, because they can take your voice and then do everything. Is that what's happening when you're talking about the photos? You give them this and they put it to a body that's doing this? Okay, I wanted to clarify that that's what you were actually saying. Well, you folks, I go to anybody under 30 for how to negotiate all this. You folks are learning it in school. You know how to negotiate it. So there's that part of me that's not quite understanding your vulnerability. And is that because you don't have a loving environment? That you're not from a loving environment personally, like your parents or your grandparents or your school or whatever, you're here by yourself from another country. I'm wondering if that's, when you speak about the population, is it because they don't have a loving environment? Because all of the things that you said, I can think of other ways of doing it. And how can we get those students connected with the loving environment, which is the mentors and so forth? What's the best ways of doing that when you're educating? Because I'm ready to take you to several different places to educate right now.
You know, students come in with all different variables. You know, lack of self-esteem, self-worth. It's a sign of their generation and how they're growing up. And how they're growing up is way different than how I grew up and how you grew up. And it changes. I mean, what it is this year is so different than last year. There's no doubt about it. So realizing what's normal for our young people now and being able to support them in that normal sense, whatever that new normal looks like. Let's face it, they're on social media a lot more. That is the new normal. They have a message, an interaction, a chat, a long chat before they will connect. And then they do connect, obviously. But you may be more inclined to call someone. They're not inclined to do that. So to realize that there's so many variables and changes and how our young people are experiencing life right now and the things that they're trying to, deal with as a tween, and in middle school and trying to feel like as if they matter. Whether they feel, and for them, they may not feel they have that support they're looking for. I can't speak for all of them. So it's so different for everyone, and everyone's story, I'm going to tell you right now, is so different. And one story of how someone was exploited is never the norm of how someone else is.
No, but I'm trying to find that base because the exploitation, there has to be some base.
Always, there's usually a predator in grooming will target someone who is vulnerable, who has a need for something. Has a need. Now, is that a need to excel at a sport? We've got someone on our team who was sexually assaulted by the tennis coach here in Marin County. And Stevie's very public about his story. He's advisor on Speak Safe. And so that's a different way. So his story and his vulnerability, he had a great family, but the vulnerability of being connected to this unhealthy adult and thinking he needed to listen to this person because he wanted to go to the Olympics. That was his dream. So everyone has a vulnerability, some area of that a predator will see they can exploit. Gotcha. Oh, they don't have a car. They need money. I'm going to drive them around. Okay. I mean, it doesn't take a whole bunch, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Can't talk very long. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, alternate member Valdez.
No question, but thank you everyone for your presentation. I learned a lot today.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we did. You learned a lot.
Okay, and then that's for me. I just want to say, as somebody who was raised by a single parent, as my mother was a survivor of domestic violence, as a parent of 2 teenagers, I hear you guys. My question is for the kids, if I can ask that, what is your expectations from us? What can we do to elevate your cause? What do you want to see us do for you?
I guess for me, I think it's just, I hope if you take anything away from any of this, it's that the world is constantly changing. Just because we perceive a problem to be fixed or handled or that we understand it even 5 years ago, doesn't mean that it's the same 5 years today or it'll be the same 5 years from now. Kind of grow up on the question that you asked, at the end of the day, we're talking about kids. How much do kids really know about the world? And because, you're a kid and you're 13, 14, 15, you think you know everything. You go through the websites, your little corners of it, but there's always more. There's always more that we don't know. That's why we're all in school. It's why we're still learning. And so, even as adults, we're still trying to grow, connect, expand our knowledge. And, sometimes even for stuff like this that we wish didn't exist in the world, it does. So if anything gets taken away, it's that whether it's physical centers, more things like this where we present, we just want to keep providing opportunities for communities like us and conversations so that we can constantly keep teaching. We all are still learning about things from our own friends, about new technologies that come out. In a lot of the ways, we're all learning just like you are. I always joked about AI being a thing about like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah,
and
right. Yeah.
now it's a thing. It's here, and as much as I personally don't like it, it's not going anywhere. So the more we attempt to learn, because as it grows, so do the people who exploit it. There's always going to be a new way to do something wrong, which means there's always a new way for us to attempt to fix it. So as long as we continue to provide that, I think the work that we're doing will feel like we accomplished it.
Thank you so much. I have a question for Marlene, but if you're gonna hang out, I can ask my question later, because I don't want to make these kids wait longer. You're gonna be hanging out or are you leaving?
Yeah, I'm gonna be hanging out, sure.
Okay, thank you. We should continue with our next phase at this point.
I don't have a comment.
Are we doing the comments at the? Are we going to the, I can use some help here because we fell off track. Are we?
We have another presenter.
We have another presenter.
But you've started the question, so I don't.
Yeah, so because we started the questions, what we'll do is we have to go to public comment.
Okay.
And then we'll have another the section.
So let's go with that.
Can I ask one last question?
But then, remember Kamina hadn't,
I had,
Well,
he remembered his question, I think.
So let me clarify. You said you don't have a question, you have a comment, so.
I have a comment and I'd like to make it when the
okay.
team is present.
Okay, so,
I'll
we'll
defer to you.
Yes, we'll make sure you get to make a
Thank you.
comment. And you said you have a question?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Davidi. I want to second what Mr. Togolahi and Davidi had said. My last question is, what can I do right now? This sort of topic is one of those things that just, makes me, angry, and I'm sure it does for a lot of people. What can I do? What can the rest of my members do? What can people in the audience do? What can I do right now, tomorrow morning, over the weekend? What can I do?
Oh, I'm right there with you. I've been angry for the last, 13 years about it. I'm trying to think. But let's have conversation. Yeah, it's all hands on deck. Let's get this into our schools. I don't know why we're just all so concerned about what schools have it, that we're having these conversations. Oh, we're bringing this negative attention. No, it's not. We got to stay on the forefront of it, only from the standpoint of we need to be futuristic. And I say that because our predators, again, are futuristic. Okay, let's look at it like, how are they looking at it? So let's get this information to our students. Our students are more aware. Let's offer trainings for parents. So parents are not left out of the equation, so they feel empowered, would be a great thing. So getting it into our schools, making sure our wellness teams, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if you look at the lawsuits that are taking place recently, schools and our wellness staff are overwhelmed. And why are they overwhelmed? Because the amount of cases they're seeing coming forward and their school the infrastructure of their school cannot accommodate this anymore. So we're seeing more and more come forward of our young people.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you. We like to extend maybe another 10 minutes because there's people on the side want to give you guys comments. So can you guys hang out another 10 minutes, please? Okay, thank you. So let's just invite public comment at this point. If there's any public comment.
Oh, do you want us to leave?
Maybe sit down
to the side.
to the side.
Yes.
I'll probably say probably close to the same thing on after the next presentation, but you asked what the students would like, this group would like, what you guys could do. Well, I know what the police could do. The police could start a task force for these kind of for sex crimes and human trafficking. And what you all can do is make a recommendation for the police department to start a task force. Because I think if we want it to stop, we want to slow it down, there needs to be more police involved with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your great presentation. I hope that next time we could have like a table for them to present from, like in the audience, sitting behind a dozen people standing for an hour. Could see them shifting, and I don't think that's the best way to welcome guests. I guess I'm surprised that there's no connection when the committee asks questions about how this connects to your work of oversight and accountability with the police department, and what is the police department's role. Safety of kids, of course, and youth is a huge issue in our community. And we heard this great presentation that I probably would have heard at San Marin High when my kids went there. And I really think the police department, if I know that police departments do give like digital safety presentations to kids, this is way better. So I would say replace any work, because the kids are going to relate to other students who know, who have friends, who have experience, not so much to an officer with a gun and other weapons talking about how to stay safe online. That's a lot less relatable for them. So it seems to me like that's a place where you all can make a recommendation that this group or groups like this get brought in for that. But again, I'm sitting here thinking like, this is a police advisory and accountability group. Like, when is the connection going to be drawn? When are the members going to ask questions about how this relates and what you can do to improve safety in our community? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any public comment. Let's throw it to Zoom. To Ms. Comida, anyone?
Go ahead and unmute, please.
Hi, Steve Bingham again. I do want to second the comments of Heidi mentioned. And more generally, I think in terms of outside presentations, which by the way, was excellent. I feel horrible these high school students have to get back home to do homework, but presentations like this should involve partly an outside group presenting, and then the police presenting their vision from the point of view of the police department. As we have heard this whole presentation, but we have no idea at this point what specifically the police department does. It obviously has an important role in bringing people to justice, in monitoring, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that in front of the pack should be a key part of this presentation. And I strongly urge you going forward to make sure that outside presentations are combined with a police presentation that relates to the outside presentation. This place is not just education for its own sake. It's, so that you're advised by the presentations and what the police say as to what you can do to advise the police. So I hope that you'll develop that as a model going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I will close public comment. I think there's been some good question asked from the public. I'd like to ask the staff if they can respond to the community.
Sure. The first comment on establishing the task force, we would love to. There's definitely, as you heard from the excellent presentation, there is too much work. I wish there wasn't as much. I will run that up the flagpole and see if we can get more police officers. And then to Heidi and Steve's comments, I agree with Heidi 100%. And we don't. We're SROs are not in the schools. We don't present anything like this to children. MCOE and San Rafael City Schools develop their own curriculum. I really don't know. I know there is a curriculum that does teach this in the schools. We have no involvement in that whatsoever, though.
Okay.
Is that by choice?
Is that by choice?
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'll comment later.
Okay, why don't we go to thank you, Lieutenant Everly. Okay, so let's go to comment, and this is the part that we can make recommendation as well. So please be specific, that we're done with the question part. So provide recommendations and comments. I know some of you wanted to. So I'll start with Member Alm.
I will echo the comment of task force. It would be my recommendation that we prioritize that. I hope in the future we could have partnership with our city schools in a more official capacity. That would be also my recommendation.
Okay, Member Kamina.
I just want for comment, to say thank you so very, very much for your presentation. I'm so impressed. I'm actually president of your nonprofit board for Speak Safe, and I've not met any of the team. I've only worked with Ms. Capra. I have been doing work involved with child sexual abuse and physical abuse. Actually, I date myself since 1969, and the problem has always been there. There is always somebody willing to take advantage of a kid. I'm like you, I'm getting very emotional, but I have never in all these years ever seen a team of kids, which you're not, but a team of peers who are willing to accept this and deal with it, because I think you're the most effective way to have this addressed. And I appreciate your time and your efforts so much. My question, I didn't mean to be off so flippant, but my understanding is that the city schools have made a resolution that is not inviting the police to participate, and that if you could have a school resource officer, that San Rafael would. But I don't know, we don't have to talk about it, but that's my understanding. And again, just thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You're great.
Thank you. Member Nguyen.
Oh, I don't have any comment. Just thank you very much for your time and for your representations. We learned a lot. Thank you.
Actually, I just have one more little brief comment, which is that I think our next speaker will address that there is an anti-human trafficking coalition, MRN, that the police participate in. So that'll come up.
Thank you. Member Rodas.
Yeah, I want to echo a little bit of what member Mr. Alm had said. I'd be more than happy to have our San Rafael Police Department and the Speak Safe organization work collaboratively to have these sorts of presentations at our schools. I think it'd be super valuable and quite frankly a necessity.
Thank you. Member Ruiz.
My comment is the same. I would like the police department involved more with, especially with this group, very good group. They know everything because it's their work right now, or what time was right now is them time. They know many things around what they feeling, and it's very important. Adults and police, of course, and other people involved too, for help and be more strong, this group. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Tokolahi.
I just want to say thank you for standing up and, coming forward and presenting and speak up. It's not easy, but thank you. I also wanted to support the idea of the task force. Maybe we can table that, I know it's not that easy, it's gonna take a lot of work and funding and everything else, but I'm fully supportive of that idea. The other thing it's not a recommendation, but maybe we can, I'm just gonna throw it out there, we can think about it. Having a San Rafael Youth Center. I think it's time to have a youth center for the city of San Rafael. And there's a lot to go into that one too, who's gonna manage that, where the fund is gonna come from. But collaboratively, we can work with all these agencies, see what we can do, and we can have all these services available for these young people.
Thank you. Thank you. Alternate member Locks.
Thank you so much. I learned so much. And I'm so proud of you, even though you're not mine. I'm so proud of you. The way you were able to articulate to strangers, you know, and on camera. It just says so much about each and every one of you. And go forward and do good. Continue doing good. Thank you.
Thank you. Alternate member Valdez.
I think just the same. Thank you everyone for your presentation. I really like the part where you gave us like examples of cases because for me it's easier to understand all that. Thank you so much and you're doing great. Thank you.
I just want to echo what everyone said. You guys come across as genuine. I feel you really want to be here. You really want to be doing this. The fact that you stood up over an hour, you were really passionate. The way you speak, you're mature, you're fearless.
Well,
I wanted to also say I liked what Heidi, Jason, Steve saying about the task force. We have a safe team. We need to have something like, you know, designated. I think the idea of having a school resource officers, I've been always supportive of that idea. I have kids that went to Davidson and also San Rafael High. I think that could be an area where kids can seek help when there's an officer there. So I am also in support of that idea. And I just want to thank you guys again for being here. And thank you, Marlene. I appreciate you and we appreciate you. And thanks for what you guys do together. So did I forget somebody?
No.
No, yeah, I got you. Okay. All right, I think at this point, we have to invite our next speaker. Okay, our next speaker, we'll ask our District Attorney, Lori Forgoli, please speak.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for your patience tonight. I think we're here to, as Paul Harvey used to say, give you a little vision of the rest of the story. I am accompanied by my friend and colleague who's going to be making a presentation for you. This is Megan Escoto, and I honor her as a friend and a colleague. I first met her at a showing of a documentary about women who had survived human trafficking. 5 women in the Bay Area, mostly northern, actually the North Bay. And Megan was one of those people who are strong enough to stand up and say what happened to her and how this happens to people. She also has a lot of experience with law enforcement, and she has actually written her own book on investigating human trafficking. And so I think she's the perfect person to kind of wrap up this conversation tonight. But one thing I do want to say, Paula Camino mentioned her service on the Coalition End Human Trafficking. Myself and Cecilia Zamora, who's here today, we co-chair that. And just briefly, we work on identifying resources that support survivors of human trafficking to help hold offenders accountable, because that's what my job is, and that's what we need to do for this to end. We work collaboratively with coalitions across the Bay Area. I sat in on most of the briefings for the human trafficking operations that ran for the Super Bowl, and the stories that I heard were just astounding, from runaway girls being trafficked from Vallejo, with one trafficker having 10 women that they were trafficking, and recovering girls from Stockton to Sacramento, recovering them in Stockton, but following their past with the intelligence that they had and rescuing these girls. So Megan is part of people who are out in the community on a daily basis, educating law enforcement and identifying victims, because we know, you've heard it a lot, it's the peer experience. The best teachers are people with lived experience, and the best teachers who are really heard are peer-to-peer people who are training in that way. So it's not me who's going to make the change, but I would say before I forget, we used to have a task force, a drug task force in Marin County. In 2020, it was disbanded for budget reasons, and then COVID happened, but it was suggested at that time that they look at human trafficking. And I know San Rafael has done operations in the past. I've seen them. We have them on local levels where we identify the traffickers themselves. So without further ado, a woman who will stand up anytime she's asked to help educate. This is my friend Megan, no matter what the situation or her life situation. So I want to turn it over to Megan and let you hear her presentation.
Megan, thank you. Before you speak, if you ever want to sit down.
That's what I was gonna
Just want to say, please, you do you.
Well, I've been, yeah.
Or just, or whatever you're comfortable.
Yes. Right now, my daughter is rearranging my organs, so. All right.
Can you
Yes.
hold 1 second? I'm getting a feedback from Ms. Komodo.
I'm sorry, before you begin. Well, you can sit while you're waiting.
Intérpretes.
You're all set.
I'll use the chair if I need to, but I'll
Okay.
stay standing for
All
now.
right.
Sí, gracias. Voy a utilizar.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay, so to introduce myself, my name is Megan Escoto. I am a board member for the Redemption House of the Bay Area. We work throughout the Bay Area to, we do street outreach, harm reduction, meeting people where they're at, providing exit resources when they want to leave, and then support afterwards. And so that's how I became involved, was as a survivor receiving support services from Redemption House. I am a former first responder. I've worked various roles within first response. I did actually work for the SAFE team for about a year. My husband is a law enforcement officer who has worked in Marin County since 2017 as well. And so I understand both sides of this. You know, everybody has their appropriate role when it comes to this, right? And recognizing that. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the adult side of human trafficking and some trends that we've seen and some best practices that we've identified for law enforcement. If you could go to the next slide. So, and also I'll add, I do have my degree in criminal justice, behavioral science, and social justice as well. So this isn't just lived experience. This isn't academic knowledge. This is something that I study. I wrote a book about it. So, there's a lot of reasons why, most police response to human trafficking is reactive. It gets reported to them and they investigate it. Because of under budgeting, understaffing, we don't have a lot of room for proactivity. And so it does come in the form of a report most of the time. And so what we also need is the public to understand what it is. And so what we're seeing of why it's not being identified and reported properly is that when it comes to labor trafficking, many people unknowingly support labor trafficking because they just don't understand what it is when they're participating or patronizing a business that's thriving off of labor trafficking. With sex trafficking, we have an issue of undereducation as well. We have misconceptions about how trafficking happens, sex trafficking tactics, these videos that go viral, and that's really not how it happens. And it takes away from how it really does happen, which is Marlene's wheelhouse when she's educating students. Our other thing is that people who don't understand consent laws and they think that a minor can choose to go stand out on Hogue Street and sell their body. They can't. They're a minor, they're underage. Anybody who's purchasing sex from them is committing sexual assault. That's a crime. And I will add is now a felony to just even solicit a minor because of that. Or they think that the adults that are out there are doing this on their own free will or they're willing participants. And it's just so much more complicated than that. And then we have businesses turning a blind eye. Motel 6, full. When I do street outreach down by Motel 6, men are in it. I have gotten solicited just doing outreach for the women out there. I have men stopping and trying to solicit to me. And the motels know very well what's going on their property. And so they need to be held accountable too. Next slide, please. So what is human trafficking? We know the basics of it, which is forced commercial sex or forced labor. In California, the law is actually a lot more extensive. And so the threshold to actually meet the crime of sex trafficking is relatively low. And so it's actually easy to charge someone compared to other states. And so, I just put it in basic terminology. We have depriving or violating a person's liberty for forced labor services, whether it's a minor or an adult. And then under the B section, it's a crime to control, restrain, or take away an adult's freedom for the purposes of extortion. So even if there's no sex or labor involved, just extorting them in California is we're one of 4 states that counts as labor trafficking when you're trying to just get anything in exchange. or coercing them into commercial sex, pornography, or other forms of exploitation. And then the C section makes it human trafficking to just attempt to get a minor to do this for you. Even if they never go through with it, you can be charged. And so a lot of parents, they maybe find this conversation online and they delete that person or block that person, and they don't realize this person has already committed the crime of pandering or has already committed the crime of sex trafficking, and they don't report it because they think the sex has to happen, right? And so understanding that, the public understanding that to be able to report it properly is very important. Next slide, please. So like I just said, no sex act has to take place for trafficking to occur. Intent can be enough. So here's 3 really common examples that we see. Someone comes into the country to work on a visa. They're being told that they're going to work in a restaurant, and then they get put into a massage parlor and told to perform a commercial sex act, and they escape and go to law enforcement. They're now a victim of sex trafficking. Someone enters into a dating relationship. Their partner says that they need to sell photos of themselves to pay rent, threatens them if they don't. They are now a victim of sex trafficking. A teenager is befriended online by an older adult who sends them gifts, compliments, and then asks them to create and sell content. Even if they never go through with it, they have already been victimized. That counts in the state of California. Next slide, please. Some common methods of recruitment that we see: offering modeling contracts, false work promises, and other opportunities. Using women when recruiting a victim is very common. Women are more trustworthy. So boyfriend, girlfriend couples recruiting in somebody can be very common. And a lot of times we call these like bottom girls, right? These are women who have been victimized themselves and don't want to be sold anymore. And so then they recruit somebody to take their place. And that's really important to understand that 2 things can be possible at the same time. The majority of sex trafficking victims are former or current foster youth. So we need to also be addressing our child welfare system and reforms, and understanding that when you are in the foster care system, you are at much higher risk. I am a former foster youth, like literally just fit right into that statistic, right? The 2 main things that we see for traffickers, it's not the stranger putting a zip tie on your car or whatever viral video that we see. For minors, the number 1 trafficker is their family. That's 1/3 of sex trafficking cases of minors. It's their family. The second one is an intimate partner. For adults, intimate partner is number 1. Friends are number 2. Family is number 3. So that's another thing. We do preach a lot about stranger danger, which is important, but kidnapping off the street is about 4% of cases. Most of the time, it's a family member or an intimate partner. And so for total cases, it's 4% that are kidnapped by a stranger. For children, it's less than 0.5%. So again, we really need to be focusing on who these kids are around, right? Next slide, please. Here's 2 examples of what we see of recruiting could rise to the level of pandering. People go on Nextdoor and they need money. They need to make rent. So these are 2 actual cases of people I've spoken to that posted online. I'm trying to do house cleaning. I need to make rent. I'll do landscaping. I'll walk your dog. I'll babysit your kid, clean your yard. And people know that that person's vulnerable. They need the money. And so these were 2 different women who were messaged on Nextdoor. And so this person's asking them to make adult content with me and my wife. And then the second one is, for my husband's 41st birthday, we will pay you to come clean our house topless, right? So the one on the right-hand side, we did an investigation. We did a reverse phone search. Her name's not Christine. She's not married. She's a 35-year-old woman in San Jose who has multiple priors for pandering and solicitation, right? And so these are the types of ways that people are lured because we know that they need money. And so they think, okay, maybe I'll compromise my values a little bit. And then you get to that house and you have no control over what happens to you after that. which is similar to the way that I was trafficked at 19 years old. So I just want to give an example of what luring and recruiting really realistically looks like. We have it right here. Next slide, please. This is where we're seeing trafficking in Marin. The ones that are bold and underlined are more out in the open. Candy sales, putting kids out there to sell candy. There's labor codes around that. Construction landscaping, street vending is very out in the open as well. Mostly down by the Golden Gate Bridge, but we know that it happens here in San Rafael as well. Hospitality, housekeeping, nail salons, organized retail theft, very out in the open. Peddling, panhandling is out in the open. Child influencers, that was more of Marlene's wheelhouse, and talk about the online stuff. Escorting, the hotels, again, we see that out in the open, especially down like where the old Litchfields is. Massage parlors, modeling, OnlyFans, and then street solicitation, again, down on Hogue Street. We see that very out in the open. So those are very specific to this county. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about three main ones that we see and that we feel can be handled better. The first one is food vendors. Understanding that these people are transported, they're dropped off to unfamiliar cities. When I've spoken with most of them, they're from San Pablo or Sonoma County, and they're dropped off somewhere else, so they don't know the area very well. They're working 12 plus hours a day. We see them out there. Sometimes they've got their kids out there, and they're typically given about $20 to $30 a day, which is well below minimum wage. We have studied the people who are running these fruit carts. They're making about, on a busy month, $85,000 tax-free, right? While these cart workers are getting $20 to $30 a day. And I know, like, my husband working in law enforcement, he is Latino, and so he goes and makes contact with these cart workers because he provides translation services. And then he'll have, somebody recording him asking why he's harassing the small business. And he's like, I'm trying to ask questions to make sure that they're being paid fairly, and that they're not being trafficked, right? So please understand that. And so that's something that the police department can do to maybe do some PSAs of this is why we're doing what we're doing. And he'll give them the information that they need to get permitted. And if they're legitimate and they're not exploiting people, there shouldn't be an issue getting permitted, right? He's not there to harass them. And so kind of having that understanding, maybe working with the community who does want to legitimately street vend would be a good opportunity, right? To educate the public about, again, when you're buying from these carts, you are supporting labor exploitation. The control structure is very similar to sex trafficking, right? Transportation, isolation are controlled. Debt bondage, you have to pay off somebody for maybe bringing you here to work. There's supervision by a handler who's collecting the money. Victims can't leave. Sometimes if they don't have that flat wage, they have to pay to be able to set up their cart in that area. They got to pay somebody up here to be able to operate on that corner, right? So it's a very similar setup, and it's just not always recognized the same way. Next slide, please. Peddling, retail theft, drug sales. These are things we're seeing people get arrested for, especially juveniles, but understanding that there's a more of a context to this. So a form of reportable child abuse is called corruption, and that is when you bring a child with you to commit a crime or try to coerce them to commit a crime for you. And so we're seeing that a couple different ways. Here's an example of two 15-year-old girls who are selling fentanyl on behalf of their pimp. So not only are they being sex trafficked by him, they're selling drugs. And a lot of times what we see is those 15-year-olds just get arrested for selling drugs. And there's no further questioning as to who put them out there and who's in charge and where did they get these drugs at 15 years old. Forced panhandling, having kids out there playing a violin or asking for money. And again, there are some derogatory terms that might be used towards this group of people. A lot of times it's the Roma community. But understanding that And again, like my husband has come into contact with adults being handled by younger kids. Because they're the new person coming in and he's asking, why don't you have your ID? How come somebody else had to send you your driver's license? And he's got a kid telling him to stop talking, right? And so understanding the context of that as well, whereas we call them scammers, understanding that they, and when I worked on Safe Team, I spoke to a couple of them and they would say, I don't get picked up until I make $300, right? That's trafficking. Or people using kids to commit organized retail theft. And whenever I see a 12 or 13-year-old being arrested for organized retail theft, I'm always asking myself, who put you up to this? How did we get here? Somebody else needs to also be held responsible for this, and that's an adult somewhere along the line. So we call that coerced criminality, especially with women and teens. If their trafficker says you need to make $400 today and they don't want to sell their body because that's dangerous, they might go and steal something and then again they get caught for stealing. And so just asking those questions can help get to the bottom of how we got here, right? Next slide, please. Street solicitation. Again, the way it gets reacted to by the public is very upsetting to me when I see comments talking about these women. When we say that a person is consenting, it means a couple different things. They made a conscious decision to do this. They knew what they were consenting to. They had a reasonable, accessible alternative, and they had the right to say no or change their mind at any time. And so many women who are involved in the sex trade, even if they don't have a trafficker, this is their last resort. They're doing this as a last resort. It is more difficult for them to leave once they've entered, especially if they have arrests for solicitation. And there is a stigma to that, right? If I was to go and try to get a job and I said, I've got a prior DUI, most people are like, not a big deal, right? But if I say I've been arrested for prostitution, there's a stigma to that. And that can really hurt when we're trying to get back into the workforce. 92% of women who have been surveyed want to leave, but they can't because they have no job opportunities, which is often the reason they start in the first place. And many who entered into the sex trade entered as minors, right? And so when I'm seeing 18-year-olds being arrested for solicitation, I'm like, a year ago, they were a victim of CSEC, and now they're a criminal just because of the small age difference. And so understanding that this started long before they were 18, most likely. Next slide. And when it comes to the consent, it is not as straightforward as saying yes. So when I'm talking with these girls that are out here by Motel 6, we're researching hobby boards where buyers leave reviews for these women. They leave reviews about their purchases. They know if they have a trafficker, they'll say, oh, her pimp was in the other room. So they know that there's a trafficker. They don't care. Many know that they're buying sex from somebody who's under the influence of drugs or alcohol, which is sexual assault in California. You can't give consent when you're under the influence. They will say, they have said things like little to no English, but she's friendly, she takes commands well. That is reinforcing an ownership and dominance mentality. This isn't a matter of lonely men, right? Women get lonely too, and we don't buy sex. So, and men push women past their limits. They do acts that weren't agreed upon, and that negates the consent, right? If they said, this is what we agreed to, now you want me to do this, but these men feel like because they paid, they can do whatever they want. That's no longer consensual. It's not a friendly transaction anymore. Next slide, please. So some things that we're doing to try to be victim-centered, survivor-centered, and hold buyers accountable. Myself and some advocates worked with Senator Shannon Grove and Assemblymember Maggie Carell, and we were able to pass this law, AB 379, which made changes to the Penal Code 653-25A. It is unlawful for any person to loiter in a public place with the intent to purchase. So we're not going after girls for loitering anymore. We're going after the buyers for loitering and trying to purchase. And it also amended the civil code section to where we can start increasing penalties on hotels and businesses that are brothel keeping and allowing this to happen on their property and not reporting it. So those are two new tools that started this year that law enforcement has access to. And then we also have, again, now it's a felony to solicit a minor. So we do advocate for the equality model, which is decriminalization of, so the equality model, which is used in other countries, decriminalizes those who are selling, ensuring they're not penalized for their involvement, and maintains criminalization of those purchasing and trafficking. We're not going to get there in California, I don't think, anytime soon. But what we are trying to do, and we kind of have something similar in place, which with this, we're going after the buyer, we're going after the demand. Trafficking is now a strikeable offense. And we have decriminalized loitering. And what our next proposition is, our next bill that's moving through the legislature is a diversion program for women. So on your first 2 arrests, you can get diversion so that you won't have a prostitution conviction on your record. And that kind of helps with some of the issues that we were talking about. And then this increased penalty on buyers and hotels is going to go into victim services, housing, and healthcare so that we can provide more economic opportunity. And so that's what we're seeing as a best practice. And and I'm not going to name names. I have talked to some officers from San Rafael PD who have said, we know what's going on down there. We know it, right? We typically only go down there after she pepper sprays a buyer, and then we arrest her for assault.
Oh.
That's a problem to me, right? So our best practice is making contact if you need to make contact, letting that victim know we're not here to take you to jail. We want to let you know that we know it's dangerous down here. We know buyers show up with guns, duct tape. We've seen it all, right? And so kind of changing the narrative of, we know it's dangerous. We're just checking in with you. Here's some resources if something happens to you. And then enforcing these new laws on these buyers and kind of making that change is what we really want to see. Next slide, please. So understanding that a lot of victims don't recognize what's happening to them. I didn't know what the word human trafficking was when I was being trafficked. I didn't realize it until 4 years after I left. Realizing that they're not always going to be able to self-report because they don't know what it is. Whether they're concerned due to immigration status, they've had prior negative experiences, again, getting arrested because they were trying to defend themselves against a buyer. They're scared of the law enforcement, they fear arrest. That's one of the reasons that they're not reporting. Traffickers make victims believe that they owe them money and have a moral legal duty to repay that money, and it keeps them compliant without the need for physical force. Victims are ashamed about what they've been forced to do as well, and so, or scared that they won't be believed. It's been 10 years since I left, and even working in the first responder field, I had fellow first responders tell me they didn't believe me because I was way too calm and composed. I wasn't emotional enough. And these are the people responding to these calls. So there's also a community mindset that we need to understand. Not every survivor looks the same, sounds the same, right? And so why would they want to talk about it if they're not going to be believed? And traffickers cut victims off from their family, friends, and resources. So they feel like that's their only option. So understanding that going into it, and that it's going to take some patience. Next slide, please. So some questions that these are things the public can ask if it's safe, right? If you're just having an interaction with a vendor and you're going to buy something from them, asking a couple extra questions. These are things law enforcement can ask as well. So on the left side is labor, on the left side is sex trafficking. The top ones can be used for both. They're both relevant questions. If someone else has their ID, why is that? Where do they live? Can they call someone? Who is their boss? How much do they keep per day? Do they have to pay to work? Do they owe someone money? Did someone bring you from another city or state? We do see a lot of girls coming in from out of state. They're on a circuit. Is someone waiting for you nearby? Asking these types of questions can help us assess the likelihood that there's somebody else controlling this person. But again, that's something I ask, like if the fruit vendor comes through my neighborhood, I ask him where he lives. And I see that his wife and kids are at the park nearby and those types of things. And he's been there consistently for the last 3 years. He's not new in town. Little things like that can help us recognize, green flags and red flags. The big one is, do you have a quota? That's really important question to ask as well. Next slide, please. This is what the public can do to help, right? This is where PSA campaigns come in handy, and we can just share this information with our friends and family. Don't buy candy and don't buy from door-to-door vendors if you can't verify the program. I know there's legitimate fundraisers for high schools out there, but what school are you from? What's the program? If they don't know where they're at or know what their local high school is, probably not legit. Encouraging vendors to get permitted and not supporting unpermitted vendors, because there's also health code issues with that too. If you notice vending, peddling, someone who seems under control of someone else, take note of identifying features and report it to law enforcement. If you see ads offering young people work, no experience necessary, we pay cash, you don't need a work permit, all those things need to be reported. If you notice someone who's appearing to be recruiting minors that seems suspicious, reporting that as well. And the biggest thing is sharing verified and truthful information, not these sensational viral TikTok. I don't even have a TikTok, but people send them to me and it drives me insane because it's so inaccurate. But making sure that we're sharing truthful information that's not overly sensationalized is really important as well. Next slide, please. That's it. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. I wanted to ask the members of the committee for any questions. Again, I'm highlighting questions. I will start with member Alm.
Thank you, Megan. I really appreciate your truth and your story. If I could circle back to Marlene too and Megan, I think a question from the community on what can we do as an advisory and oversight committee to both of you. How could we assist?
Are you?
The question to both of you, I want to, since you're still here, I'm going to take that opportunity to ask both.
Yeah, I think, I kind of mentioned a little bit before about, getting that, seeing how these cases are handled, right? And how these interactions are handled and who's going to jail for what. And so that's something that I think somebody even said before, right? There's discretion there, right? The law gives discretion. We don't have to take a woman to jail for this if we can understand that she is most likely not out there on her own free will, understanding what own free will really looks like. So that can still be a policy, right? We can have that policy of we're not arresting women for this crime, but we are going to attack the demand, and we are going to do extra patrols and or saturated patrols to go after demand. Or we are going to make contact with these vendors and offer them chances. Just having policies around interaction with people that we know are at high risk to improve that communication and relationship with that community. That's an example, right?
Thank you. Marlene, anything you would like to, an opportunity for what could we do as an advisory committee?
Yes. Just your support and bringing it to the San Rafael schools obviously is incredibly important. Getting it to school staff. Somebody mentioned, is this in the health curriculum? This is not in the health curriculum in their schools. I've had this conversation with all our schools. It's not. And so, because it's a very specific type. The exploitation is something very specific you need to be educated on. It's very different than drugs or some mental health other issue that you're dealing with. So getting it into our schools, wellness staff, getting into other compromised communities, canal lines. I love the idea of a center, having community partners maybe have a place at the center so their services are available, however you guys see that going. But just more awareness in your community and being able to go into those spaces with your support and direction and being able to advise those communities to move forward with it would be great.
Specifically to your cause and what you're working with, where do you see the interaction with the police department?
With the police department, I love bridging the gap between the police department and our students. There's no doubt about it. I knew early on, which we started educating law enforcement and went into many of our police departments. A matter of fact, went into the meeting with all the chiefs at one point to give them an overview exactly of what we were doing at the time. There's about 40 of them. They've all been on board, but have more collaboration in the sense of working more cohesively together. This is kind of what we're seeing right now, how we could use your support better in helping students and helping families so that we're actually addressing this collaboratively together within our schools and not all these isolated. That's one of the issues we have here in our own county. We're all coming from these isolated areas instead of let's just work together. There's too much work. I don't need to take on someone else's, and I'm sure they don't want to take on anybody else's either right now. So being able to all kind of, I can do this part and so can do this part, and we can all piece it together. We're better able to help our youth and families in Marin if we do that. And then we can see what the gaps are too.
Megan, what if you had your perfect world? What would be your number one recommendation you would like us to speak to the police department?
I would just say more trauma-informed response. And I know you guys do have the SAFE team, right? But they need this training as well. I will say I do training for both crisis units and law enforcement. And I am planning on donating some books to the police department. And this is all about trauma-informed, trauma-centered response to human trafficking. And we go through like every industry you can think of. And so that's something that I would be willing to provide, is that training for both the crisis units and law enforcement, because they each have their own appropriate role. That's something I'm willing to offer.
Any input you would
I would
like to
just
give?
add that I really want to hit on the key of collaboration. I know your focus is on the San Rafael Police Department. This is a total transitory crime. When these kids are being exploited, it's not just in the city school district, and they're going places, and the victims of these crimes are being transported all over the Bay Area and in Marin County. So, you know, they did reimagine the former task force that focused solely on drugs. Now they do other things. If you're going to put some resources someplace, maybe it's easier to see if you can partner with things that are already going on. And I don't know if the school board members meet with other school board members on a county-wide level. I would assume that you do. But that's something that you could consider. It would only take one or two people to be part of a team that could all work together on something like that. So I would recommend that. And, you know, the biggest thing is Megan hit it on the head, when anybody, whether it's law enforcement or a teacher or someone in the community is dealing with someone in this situation, oftentimes they don't want to speak for many reasons, including they just feel they're not going to be believed. And the first presentation I went to is I said, what would you tell a DA or a police officer if they contacted you on the street and wanted to help you, you know, get out of this situation? And she said, I would just like them to see me as a human being, not somebody who, you know, is down on their luck or laying in a gutter and walk past me with some kind of different feeling than realizing that it just takes one supportive person to help. And our Center for Domestic Peace is starting to question people on their hotline about trafficking. So we're starting to get some more data in that regard. So it's a very underreported crime, but that doesn't mean it's not everywhere. So.
And I think something I've suggested as well, something we've talked about, is having some type of protocol within the county jail, right? Because it's not always safe to talk to a victim on the street, especially when their pimp is watching them. Even when I'm doing outreach and talking to girls, like I have a limited amount of time before I'm getting yelled at, right? By whoever's controlling them to get out and stop talking to her. So it may not always be safe. And so I've suggested before having some type of screening in the county jail of, we educate everybody who comes into booking about human trafficking. And then that's a safe area where they're already isolated, and having those types of educational materials in the jail as well. And I have donated books to the jails in other counties, which I can do as well. Because I have this one is for law enforcement, but this one is actually like my story and 4 other survivor stories, and they're all so different. And that's something that we also can go into the jails and speak to people about as well, and donate educational materials.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Camina?
I actually don't have any questions, but I'm very grateful for your presentation.
Thank you.
Member Nguyen?
No, I don't have any question. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Member Rodas?
Yeah, I want to thank you so much for coming here, Megan, and I also want to thank Ms. Bergoli for also participating in this. I have a lot of questions, but I want to keep them narrowed to the role of what the PAC is. You had shared a story about, and we don't need names, about police officers who go out there and they only, well, not only, but they attend these incidents after somebody's been pepper sprayed. Do you mind elaborating?
There's kind of, and it's not, I'm not picking on San Rafael
No, of
PD,
course,
right? When I talk to almost every PD, they've told me like, we see it and they get to a point where they either have given up, right? Like, we know it's happening, and we only have so many resources to address crime. So if you've got fights and you've got this and that, and there's this girl standing out there, then it's like, it doesn't become top priority, and I understand why. And so they don't often come into that environment until an incident has happened where somebody's been pepper sprayed and stuff like that. And I've also, like, I'll give an example because I live in Solano County, right? And so the police department there, like, when I was talking with them, they said, we arrested 2 15-year-old girls for robbery at Motel 6. And I said, what are 2 15-year-olds doing at Motel 6? And like, well, they robbed a guy who was going to pay them for things. And I said, okay. And I understand that at 22 years old, they're coming out of the academy where they've just learned robbery and violent crime and crimes against persons. And so they know very well how to identify a robbery, and they don't maybe necessarily understand the concept of this man committed a felony first, and they were doing this out of self-preservation, and 2 things can be true at the same time. But that man was let go as a victim, right? So this isn't isolated to San Rafael PD. This is just a matter of changing the perspective when we're training, that not every crime is straightforward, and so especially when it comes to children committing crime. And what happened before that child committed that crime, because nobody grows up wanting to be in that position.
Right.
And so, yes, it's just something I've heard before. That yes, we know what happens. We wait till something happens, and then, yeah, we take them to jail for this, that, or the other. And so I just wish there would be more stopping and asking how we got here, because we possess pepper spray to defend ourselves, right? But oftentimes we get arrested for pepper spraying people, and so it's kind of a weird thing.
Right. And I also just want to get it out there. When we bring up this topic about prostitution, it's not that we necessarily want to victimize the people who are participating in these acts, but really just the nature that goes on behind it. I'm not sure if there's a proper term for it, but the idea of pimps and that sort of thing. That's when this idea of prostitution comes up. That's really what I hope we're aiming to target. Not just the people who are actually those acts. And then so I have one question. Maybe Ms. Bergoli or Lieutenant Everly can answer this one. Give or take, what percentage of people within our city, our county, are being trafficked?
Oh,
it's very vague. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's the most underreported crime, and we, to your defense, we had a San Rafael specific human trafficking class for the PAC last year, so I could forward you all those.
Sure.
That material that would talk about prostitution. I can't remember the last time we've arrested a female for prostitution. We don't focus on prostitution. Anytime we do a special operation, we focus on the demand and to save victims. And it's really all about stopping the demand. I applaud you for getting the couple new penal codes on the books. That's great. We are going to be shifting our attention towards focusing on stopping the demand. I'm not going to advertise when and where we're going to do it, but I do want to advertise that we're going to do it. So hopefully that message gets out. That will hopefully stop some of these purchasers from even doing it in the first place. Because like I said, it's really, it boils down to the demand. If there's no demand, then we wouldn't have this problem at all. So I agree 100%. It's these purchasers that are causing the problems. But like to get back to your question, it is the most underreported crime. We talked about it. I worked every crime in the book. It is the most difficult crime to investigate. She touched on it a little bit. The difference between a SAFE team member or a member of the public or an EMT or a firefighter and a police officer making contact with these people, it's night and day, because oftentimes they are taught not to be seen with us, talk to us. So they will make a huge scene, and it is very hard to engage in services. Having said that, we always can use more training. I appreciate that. We'll exchange contact information and see if we can get more training. I could tell you, as far as a training standpoint, we have 2 of our top detectives going to a human trafficking class next week, where all of the things that you learned about tonight get reiterated, are current. So we do try to keep current on all that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Ruiz?
I am trying to speak English. I am translating a little bit, but because in Canal area, I live in Canal, and we have a lot of vendors, different food. But when I hear you about this problem, the idea scared me. What would happen when the police throw away the things they selling? Because I think this person is no owner about the business, is someone. I'm scared what happened when they come into them and said, hey, the police throw away everything. This is the scare for me now, because never I think maybe it's not the owner, maybe someone is trafficking this person about selling food.
Yeah, so I've definitely talked to departments before. Again, it's how it gets handled, right? We know that, like when I've talked to department, for one, vendors, there's been new laws that protect vendors as well. So it's more of an administrative health code thing when they do get contacted, whereas they don't get like a police citation anymore for vending. The only reason they're able to do it at the Golden Gate Bridge is because it's on state highway and national park property. But I have talked to officers about that before, that when you give that person an $800 ticket for vending on the freeway, that comes out of, now they owe more money to their trafficker. So again, ticketing is not going to solve the problem. And throwing away all their stuff is going to come out of their pocket as well. So again, we need to, how they handle it definitely needs to be done in a trauma-informed way. Understanding, so all we're asking for is making that contact to ask those questions and saying, this is how you get permitted. This is the right way to go about it, giving those opportunities. But I don't believe that penalizing financially or throwing away their stuff is going to help, because if they are being trafficked, they're going to have to now replace that. So I agree that that's a concern, and that's where I do agree with, like, that is a concern that's not helpful. And so that's an opportunity again for the department and the community to come together, to communicate on what the best way to go about it is, understanding who's legitimate, who's a community member, who's being victimized. And so then again, also within your community, holding each other accountable and saying, this person's not from our community, this person's being victimized, and we need to hold our own community accountable when it's happening as well. I hope that helps answer your question.
Thank you so much for the answer.
Thank you. And Member Tokolahi, any questions?
Yeah. What's and I guess the question will also go to the staff too, regarding the food vendors, because she's right. Like my mother-in-law lived in the Canal, and I drop the girls there all the time, and I see every single night it seems like there's just new ones popped up. What's the license process? Do they need a license, or they just okay.
So I can speak a little bit to that. So yes, they do need a license. In the city of San Rafael, they need a business license certificate, as well as to go through the process through the county health department to receive certification around safe food handling, around the preparation of food, as well as there's a state peddler's permit that they have to apply for and receive as well. And so in the city of San Rafael, there are instances where the city has confiscated food. We have had instances, of foodborne illness. And so I respect what you're saying in terms of it does come out of their pocket. And then, there's this tension between wanting to balance public health and wanting to prevent foodborne illness, which can cause a whole host of issues, and wanting to recognize that people in many cases, and our code enforcement, our police officers who have gone out and do these enforcement actions have heard that as well, that in many cases, there's like a group of folks and they just get sent out or dropped off. And it's like you said, that, we want you to earn a certain amount of money and that's what you're expected to do. On the city side, in terms of programs, we did just create our own permitting process that aligns with the state laws, because there are, in the past 5-6 years, there have been a relaxing of rules around these types of activities, because there is a recognition that these are passive entrepreneurship. In the cases that you mentioned where it's just a family, they're trying to make ends meet and not a part of these human traffic operations, but there is a recognition that this is an entrepreneurship opportunity for many folks in the state, and so wanting to decriminalize that as much as possible. So the city created its own permit program. We're also working on a pilot program in conjunction with a nonprofit organization. We haven't done that contract yet, but to give people a path to legalization. And the program that we're contemplating would have a sanctioned marketplace where people could vend not just food, but people do sell other items too. They sell clothing, home goods, things of that sort. So to provide a place where that can be done legally, and also that they would receive support from the city and this community-based organization to understand what's required and receive the support that they need in order to become a permitted business, and also giving that opportunity to a vend in a location. So those are the ways that the city is addressing it, again, by creating its own pathway to be in compliance with state law, creating a vendor support program, and a pilot marketplace where people can vend safely.
Thank you.
By the way, I went and checked one of my clients with work regarding work. He used to be he was at Motel 6, and I show up today, there's a new name. It doesn't call Motel 6 anymore. It's called something Palm something. I was like, whoa, what's going on? So I don't know the story, but it changed now. It doesn't,
Yeah, Bermuda.
It used to be the Bermuda.
I don't think it's a question. I think it's a comment.
You want to save it for later? What do you
Yeah.
save for later?
Oh, no, it's a question.
Okay.
I want to buy the book.
They changed their name.
I want to read it, and I want to give it to my wife and the girls to read it, and we want to talk about
I can give you my card. There's a link.
it. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go to alternate member Lux, please. Question.
No, I don't have a question. I have a comment.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you. Alternate member Valdez.
No question.
No question. As for me, I think we had this presentation last year, but this year's definitely was more elevated, informative, very educational, a lot of new material. Just like what I've learned was this is a hard thing to prosecute, because the people who are victims don't want to speak up. The traffickers somehow find a way not to, to run away. I'm not sure what the dynamic is, but I'm excited about this AB 379 bill.
Yes.
Is there any other assembly bill that addresses this issue that can bring more of a way to prosecute effectively?
Yeah, I mean, this was AB 379. We worked for 2 years in a row to get it passed. There was a lot of resistance for various reasons. So getting across the finish line was quite the endeavor. And now we're starting to collect data to see, how it's being used and where it's being used. I know Oakland PD I think they've made 75 arrests for this alone since it's gone into effect. And we're always, and now our next part is that diversion piece, right? And so we're just adding on a little bit. First, it was a felony to solicit 15 and younger, right? Now we've made it 17 and younger. Now we've added, so we just keep kind of building on. We have to do little pieces at a time. So the only next bill that I'm aware of that we're working through legislation is that diversion piece for the women. And then I think there was one other, but it's escaping me right now because pregnancy brain is real, I swear to you.
Thank you.
But there is another one that we're working on and I just cannot, trying to include labor trafficking along with CSEC and how it's investigated by Child Welfare Services, recognizing that as a form of child abuse as well.
Say that again, please.
So right now, CWS, Child Welfare Services, they handle CSEC. We're trying to add labor trafficking into that and
Okay.
recognizing it as a form of child abuse.
Okay,
So
thank you.
there's that as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Take a little break because I would like to invite public comments at this point.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks for waiting patiently. Please come on down.
Thank you all. It's a great job. Your passion, hold on. Very interesting. Your passion is unlike any, and this job, more than the job, is you. You do a great job. Your passion is through the roof, and I mean that respectfully. Yeah. I'm born and raised here in Marin, special place, more ways than one. And I mean that truly, and I mean that sarcastically, because it's a county that has thrives on anti-Blackness. Where am I getting at? Media, law enforcement, all the above, County of Marin. When you emphasize, I heard earlier about pimp, right? And I support all what's happened tonight, all that's been said. But when I heard the word pimp and you say Vallejo, and you mentioned, someone mentioned San Pablo and Stockton, and that's what Marin has done. That's what the media has done. Is occasionally when you catch a pimp from Vallejo, who happen to be from Vallejo, they're on the media, they're in media, they're in the Marin IJ, their faces are publicized. Their case is publicized throughout the, court case. Anti-Blackness is what happens here in Marin. So what am I getting at? Yeah, it happens in Vallejo, Stockton. It also happens in the hills of Mill Valley, Sausalito. And I'm going to bring up a name that I've never brought up in public because it's not who I am. But you look at, and I hate to say this, I really resent Jeffrey Epstein. Hate to bring up that name. He's a white man. There are others, and I apologize, white men like him in the hills of Mill Valley, the hills of Santa Fe, the hills of Tiburon, and Peacock Gap, white men. So when you talk about pimping and you bring up these cities that may have a black person, that have black men come here and have done some things that have been illegal.
I'd like to ask you to wrap up.
Okay, I'll wrap it up. That white men, like we've seen on the news, have magnetized this much bigger. They do the crimes as black people do too. So I'm wrapping up. Anti-Blackness is real in this county. White men are not innocent, as you guys try to portray them to be.
Thank you. I would like to ask Ms. Komodo if we have any public comment via Zoom.
We do not.
We do not. I don't see, do I like to close public comment? I like to ask staff to respond to questions from the community, if any.
Is there any questions?
I don't think.
I'm getting questions.
Okay, cool. Why don't at this point we transition to offering your feedback, your comments or your recommendations from our committee. I would like to ask Member Alm.
My recommendation is Senator Falk create a policy and training program on trauma-informed response training. I would hope to see it as an initial program and a continuing education module.
We do have a human trafficking on during orientation. It's a 2-hour block.
I'm being specific on trauma-informed response.
Thank you.
Also, I would like to add, I think there was overall consensus on some form of task force. And I would like to bring that to a vote about among all of us, if we would like, I'll support a task force on human trafficking and digital team response also from, I need to be specific.
Right.
Yeah.
Make a motion.
But essentially, we're asking for a task force on digital media affecting our youth, if I'm correct, and human trafficking.
Are you putting forth that as a motion?
Yeah.
We have discussion.
Yeah, you wanna have a.
I would love
Well,
that
that's a
discussion though.
Yeah.
I mean, like I fully support the idea because, you know, because I also wanted to bring up how do we monitor these platforms, including freaking Nextdoor, you know? How do we monitor these community social media platforms? And there are tons out there that we all of a sudden we're like, oh, there's this social media group that we don't know of, you know? To me, it's I would love to table it because I would love us to find out more, talk to these experts, you know, bring more ideas to the table because I want to explore, because I want it to be very specific and understand. You know, I want us to understand it, but I don't want it to put it away because I support the idea of having a task force, but I also wanted us to fully understand it because there's a lot going into it.
Okay.
You know? But I would love to table it,
Okay.
you know, so we can find out more and
Okay, let me go
discuss.
to Ms. Kamina.
Right, well, we haven't got a second. We haven't,
Yeah, right.
But my point of discussion is, I absolutely agree that it needs to be addressed, but my question was going to be, and my comment was going to be asked, what is the policy now? And what are we already doing? So that if we make a recommendation at this meeting or another, we'll know that we're not duplicating, like, what do we have to work with? Does that make sense?
Yeah, good point.
And could we have maybe you or the chief or someone come back, hopefully our next meeting, and give us information so that we can make a sensible recommendation? Not sensible, but informed.
We have a sexual assault detective that specializes and works with NCMEC that Marlene talked about. And that's where we get all of those social media, anything digital, it comes straight to us. There's algorithms out there that mine it for us. And then there's the offices in San Jose. Our office then contacts us and we do investigate it. So
Well, I guess the question would be, what more would you like, could be done if you had whatever you could have? Tell us next time.
yeah.
Yeah, why don't we do this? I like to kind of go around getting the comments so we don't get sidetracked, and then maybe you can report back to us about what you find out. I'd like to go to Member Kamina.
Well, I think I've
You down? Okay.
taken my time out of turn.
Oh, can I just say?
Wait, sorry, 1 second, go ahead.
Our interpreters need it to swap.
Okay, let's give a little bit.
Maybe we can stand up and move our.
9 o'clock stretch.
Yeah.
Almost done.
All right, let's see if we can.
Oh, it's almost 9 o'clock.
Okay, let's get back. Member Nguyen, please wait. Because I want to wrap this up if we're getting over time. Member Nguyen, no question. Member Rodas?
Yes, I would be more than happy to see a collaborative approach between our SRPD department and Speak Safe, especially Marlene, speak at one of our school board sessions about exploitation and how we can implement this in our school. And I'd be, honored to have Megan join in as well. So if I could make a recommendation, nothing too formal, but I always recommend that maybe SRPD, Speak Safe, and Megan could work collaboratively at a school board meeting so that we can get this addressed.
There's no interpreter.
I think he went to bed.
Today.
All right, let's go to Member Ruiz. Do you need translation or you're okay? You need.
It's okay, but the person is not talking, the translator person is not talking.
I don't know if we ran out of time, but we're trying to figure it out.
Don't worry, don't worry. It's okay for me.
You got it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You want to share your recommendation?
Yeah, I am agree with Paula, the same. This is my recommendation, I agree with you, because when we came to the school here, we have some presentation like her presentation, and I understand the police department have already.
Okay, thank you. Member Tokolahi?
No, I just wanted us to, because this is very important to me though. It's not easy. And I also wanted to acknowledge the DV work that, Lori is doing, because DV is one of the top, like you said, it's everywhere in this county, but it's not reported, and there's all kinds of other elements that go into that too. My point is, I want to table this, we discuss, because there are existing programs, like you said. Find out what's exists, what's out there and what's not, and we can bring that back and we'll talk about what we can do. Because I do not want to, come up with something like, let's do this. And then there were like other agencies like, we have that.
Right. I think, so that was the motion, but we were looking into it before we.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I'll go to alternate member Locke, please.
I thought this was comment time.
This is
Yeah.
comments and making
All right.
recommendation.
I would like to thank you for coming and giving your presentations. I liked how it was, we started with the youth and then we did the larger piece and, the adult side, that was great. And I did attend the Dominican College presentation that the two of you presented. And this was like a continuation of that. And I want to take the information for the students that are the pre-nursing student, the College of Marin. I need to give her my contact information because we can do that as health providers. We can take this into a different perspective. I want to work on that with the health, part of the health piece. I would like to work on that.
Thank you. And alternate member Valdez?
Just thank you, Megan. I really learned a lot today because I never thought about the food vendors that they could do like neighbor trafficking. It's just like something like I never thought about it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I also want to say, I see there's a lot of harmony and bridge building here. Usually when you have different organizations come, but I really appreciate how much there's so much harmony amongst you guys. It'd be nice to kind of elevate this platform and make use of it because we're talking about task force, different things. And I see Megan, you're so passionate, so experienced, someone with boots on the ground. So it'd be nice to see all this talent here gets even, how can we get on a pedestal and go further. I just want to thank you. I know there's a lot of great comments made. I don't want to, repeat what they said, but really appreciate everything you guys bring. Thank you for what you do and very grateful for your presence, your presentation. We appreciate your work. And with that, we will adjourn at 9:00 exactly.
Thank you.
Oh,
sorry.
The meeting